Digital Country. Tonight we've got a wonderful show on tap. We have Derek Putnam that does all the editing for Sick the Mag. He also does a lot of writing articles. We also have Jimmy Rinehart joining us. He's a driver. And also we have Devin Vanderhoof joining us as well. So first of all, I wanted to run a couple of commercials. These guys help us make things happen.
Hey Tornado fans, this is Kurt Miracle of Miracle Automotive and Towing, proud sponsors of Tornado Football. I want to welcome you to beautiful Stark, Florida at David Hurst Stadium, and thank you for letting us be a part of this community. We're here for more than your automotive and towing needs. We're here to be part of Tornado Country. Go Big Red!
60 years of innovation, 60 years of attention to detail, 60 years of rigorous testing under race conditions is what makes ATI Performance Products great. ATI has been helping racers like you reach the finish line first. Today, we manufacture a wide range of high-performance parts that are track-tested and race-proven. We're passionate about performance, and that passion is what drives you to the finish line first. See everything ATI has to offer at ATIRacing.com.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for taking time out of y'all's busy schedule to join us here tonight to talk about Sick Summer that y'all just got finished competing last week. Are y'all rested up after all the miles that y'all put in between all the tracks?
I like that. He suggests that we might be rested.
I'm still whooped with allergies. I don't know what happened, but I guess when we went through those cornfields, I picked up some allergies, and I do not feel rested at all.
Yeah, the drag and drive hangover, I would say, is still in full effect. I'm trying to get back to a regular sense. Devin, would you say that's at least somewhat fair? Like you try to get back to regular life after being gone for a week to like 8-9 days, depending on the travel?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the 5 days of racing or 6 days of racing is one thing, but then you got a day of travel each way. All that time in the sun, in a car, it's just exhausting. So, I work 14, 15 hours a day anyway, but that's way harder.
Yeah, and the roads were not easy up in the Midwest.
Oh, they were terrible.
Yeah. All right, we got Jimmy back.
You guys.
So you're saying the roads in the Midwest are kind of like Interstate 95 in South Carolina?
Well, actually, it's funny you bring that up because at the awards ceremony, and Devin will remember this, I actually said to him, I have always been told and I've experienced up until I'd been in the Midwest, which I'd never been. I said, I always figured South Carolina had the worst roads. Devin didn't even hesitate when he said, no, it's way worse up here. As a matter of fact, I think in one of his Facebook posts, he said, y'all need to stop paying your taxes until they fix the roads.
Dude, I wouldn't pay taxes up there. There's no way. I'm telling you, there's no way I would pay taxes if the roads were that bad all year. Like, I can understand a little bit of construction, but it's like they poured concrete 5 foot at a time. You're driving down the road and it's like a rhythm section from a dirt bike track. You're like, what the hell are they thinking?
Just so you know, what was it? Wasn't that one lane that they had that was blocked off for a while? Where like one side like beat you pretty badly, but then you looked at the other side and the whoop-de-doos were like 3 or 4 feet higher, and we're like, oh, okay, they're probably still grinding that one down.
Oh yeah, dude, it was. When you saw the stuff that they just fixed, you're like, no, that couldn't have been the stuff that they just fixed. That had to have been the stuff that they're about to fix. No, they just fixed that. If anybody's paying attention or listening or watching this, and they work for the Department of Transportation up there, just quit because you're not good at your job. You know what I mean?
Just making public service announcements out here.
Just quit. It'd
be better off with dirt roads, right?
Oh,
We have dirt road. Like my driveway is like a quarter-mile long, and it's a gravel driveway. And my gravel driveway is cleaner and freaking smoother than what we were on. It was tough.
Hey, that
Jimmy,
just
how was
made
your
it more
car
challenging.
Jimmy, how was your car during the week? Because I know that thing, at least based on last year, I thought it still had a bench seat in it. So was it at least a little bit more comfortable to drive?
Oh yeah, even though the roads were terrible, that car drives nice and it has AC and a bench seat, so it cruises 4L80. It has all the street car amenities for sure. So it wasn't
Devin's
too
like
bad,
my-
but it's not like
Devin's
4L.
like my air conditioning involves dropping the top. That's basically all I have.
Dude, I'm so jealous of what you just said.
With the
We got no
4L80 in the
energy.
car, we just passed
Oh,
any guys on the highway.
yeah, I'm sure you passed us. We cruised at a solid 52
I
mile an
think I'm gonna
hour.
have to move inside.
Yeah, we like get you and then you freeze and then you start working again, it looks like. So
Yeah, take your time. If you want to move inside, that's plenty fine.
Um,
You know, the one thing about what is so neat about Sick Week and Sick Summer is that, you know, if you have a problem, your fellow racers are always there to pull over the side of the road and try to help you out. That's the one thing that I've seen at both of these events.
Yeah. So when we were driving, you know, the kind of like the common known thing is like, hey, if you hear another car coming towards you, you're on the side of the road, give a thumbs up if you're good, thumbs down, or like wave your arms, you know, like if you have a problem. And when we were driving, everybody gave us thumbs up. So I'm assuming that everybody was good, you know, and I'm hopeful. I hope we didn't just blow by anybody who was like, hey man, cool car, but stop. We need some help. Yeah, like there was a couple times where we had pulled over and there was groups of like 5, 6, 7 cars and they were all there working on one car. So, you know, everybody helps everybody. And that's something that we're not necessarily used to with what we normally race in. Yeah, there he is.
Had to move
you try a
inside.
different spot.
Yeah, internet was not good in the shop.
All right. So
Well,
that's
one of
definitely
the things
something that, like you said, is interesting because I stopped probably 3 times during Sick Week and once on the first day of Sick Summer just because there were cars sitting on the side of the road. And the first time I stopped, there were like 4 cars pull over near like a couple of decent sized grain silos. And I was like, are you guys all right? And they're like, yeah, we're just trying to find somewhere to get out of the heat. And they were laying in the grass. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I couldn't grasp how hot it was. It didn't make sense.
What was the
Yeah.
warmest day up there?
What, like 92,
Sunday,
93
yeah,
or
Sunday,
something
probably.
like that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jimmy. Probably Monday was the roughest,
Right.
90, 92, 93. If we were down south, I'd understand it, but I just don't, you know,
Right.
I don't know.
When I got to the hotel in Wisconsin, I didn't bring a jacket with me, and I got down in the 50s that night,
Yep.
and I wasn't prepared for that for sure.
Yeah, we didn't even bring pants with us. So like we drove the next morning, like we ran out of the hotel, fired the car up, and you know, in about 4 or 5 minutes, you get some pretty decent heat from my car. There's no actual heater; it just emanates heat, you know, through the firewall. So like we got in the car like 4 or 5 minutes later. I was like, all right, we're good. And we got out of the gas station. And I was like, God, it was windy. Shorts and a t-shirt. Everybody's looking at us like we're nuts. I'm like, man, y'all don't know. We didn't even bring it with us. You know, like we had to go buy sweatshirts from Tom's trailer that morning. So
Yeah, I was wearing my fire jacket around the hotel at night because that's all I had on.
yeah, it was weather was very strange up there. Very dry, and allergies have been killing me from up there. I don't know what happened. I guess it got stuck to my clothes or something. You know what I mean? Like it came home with me and it's been messing me up ever since we left. So it's been a disaster.
Well, one of the things before we go any further, I like both of y'all to take time and talk about y'all's cars that y'all drive a little bit. Tell us a little bit about them.
Go ahead, Jimmy. You start.
All right. Well, it's a 72 Nova 5.3 4L80 7675 turbo. That's killing it. That's what's killing the car. Yeah, little T4 turbo. But like I said, it's got vintage air. It's full stock interior. It's an 850 cert car. quick performance, 9-inch rear end. And like I said, we were building this car when the announcement for sick week, the first sick week came out. So I've been following Drag Week for years, and it's always been so far away coming from Florida. So when this was coming to Florida, we said if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. So it worked out. The car was finished about 2 months before sick week last year, and ran great. It was only 10.0 certified then. I didn't have my NHRA license, so after doing the first sick week, we were hooked, and we're like, we got to get this thing to where it can run where it should be. So
so you're down in Florida?
Yeah, I'm 20 minutes from the Bradenton track. That's my home track. So that's why when we struggled on Wednesday with the prep, I'm like, I don't know what to do because this don't happen in Bradenton.
Right.
So
you're talking about Tri-State,
yeah, Tri-State. Thursday, I guess.
Day 4?
Day 4, yeah.
Yes,
First day.
I was lost for sure.
You should have took Wade with you up there.
Yeah, exactly. Should have brought Wade with me for sure.
Yeah. I know Devin definitely had some struggles up there too, but don't forget, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing my job, Jimmy. Don't forget to tell him about Drew.
That's right. Drew is the owner of the car. I'm just the builder, the tuner, the maintenance guy, the driver, but it's his car and he drives it. He's driving it today out on the streets. He drives it all the time on the street. So that's why it's kind of like we don't want to put a bigger T6 turbo on it because it'll take away from how fun it is on the street. So it's probably
you don't want to lose that drivability.
I mean, it's so responsive with that turbo on it, so it's fun.
I can tell you that mine does really good on the street, but it is not fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not fun.
Right.
I drive like a little old lady whenever I'm out in the car. When power comes in, it's usually annihilates the tires, no matter how fast you're going down the highway.
Oh yeah.
It's a scary thing, and you can wad it up pretty quick. So, if you enjoy it, if he likes it, if he's having fun with it, I mean, I don't know. I'm usually pressing everybody to like go fast, but
yeah, I would love it to be an 850 competitive car, an 850 class, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, mine's a job.
Yeah, I see those. The higher you get and the faster you go, it's just the more work it is for sure.
The less fun it is for sure. Yeah,
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were one and done every day except Thursday. There,
Thursday you made more passes in one day than you made the rest of the week.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thursday was the one day we were one and done because I said, "There's no way I'm sending that car down that racetrack again."
Right, correct.
It was just too narrow of a groove for me to trust it,
Yeah, I don't understand why isn't the whole lane prepped there? I don't understand that.
I think all they run is dragsters.
Okay.
I think Iowa only owns dragsters. That's the only logical explanation is that it's strictly dragsters.
Right, I guess.
I don't understand it. It was very, very, very narrow.
Yeah.
The track was wide, but the groove, like the actual like rubber on the racetrack was like 8 foot wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you looked at it, you could see there was no prep all the way to the middle. It was okay, here's the groove. And then there's the opposite color where you're not in it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which ended up being the area that John Ferrone basically used the entire time he was there.
Yeah. He was good at taking out cones. He killed it at that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can't ever say that he doesn't at least try on every single pass because
wow, man. That thing's a handful for sure.
It is. Very
well, he's Australian. They don't know like 75%. You know what I mean? They only know like 100% and that's it. Which is fine, you know what I mean? But they're just wild. Like every Australian I know is like that. You know? We have Australian customers and they're always like, it's always 100% with all of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's interesting.
So Devin, before we get off subject as we have been, why don't you tell us about your Mustang?
93 convertible Fox body. Started life as a 12,000 mile all original triple white feature car.
It was a vanilla ice car. Okay, got it.
It was a legit vanilla ice car. And it was like worth a lot of money. but it was all white and it was ugly. So I bought it with like 12,000. I mean, in perfect, pristine condition. Sold all the limited edition stuff off for enough money to pay for the rest of the car, because I didn't care about that. It's currently has, and I say currently because who knows, if anybody's watching and knows me, knows that I'll probably change my mind in a week and do something different. But it's currently a 25.2/25.3 or 6.0 650 cert stock suspension Mustang, 540 cubic inch big block Chevy from Par Racing Engines, single 118 millimeter turbo from Force Inductions. Actually, from them, I'm wearing their shirt. And no, they don't pay me. So the transmission's a turbo 400, 340 rear gear, and a fabricated housing, 9-inch or 10-inch housing, whatever it is. It's a floater. Yeah, it's Holley EFI controlled. I do a ton of stuff with fuel injection. We're not here to just talk about all the people that have all the companies we work with, but that's basically the rundown of it. No vintage air, no overdrive, no heat, no defrost.
No, it has heat.
Yeah. Nova doesn't have heat. We didn't put heat in it because we're from Florida.
Right. There's 4 cup holders, so that's like one of the good amenities. There's a titanium and carbon fiber armrest in it, so that's really nice. There's not much leg room because it's a Fox body, and I got some cell phone holders in it. And now, and there's a stereo with navigation and GPS and backup camera and all that kind of stuff in it too. So
cool. And it weighs a little more than I think most people would probably figure a Fox body Mustang can weigh. Because let's be honest, you can get those things down to 2,500 pounds and they still don't look like they've been gutted. So to speak. Right.
Yeah. No, mine's 3,250. So in the world of Fox bodies, mine's very heavy. But it's it's 3,250 pounds with a driver. We could lose if we wanted to just shoot out race with the car and not drive it on the road, we could probably pull about 4 on a 2050, but what's the fun on that? Uh-oh. What happened?
You're good.
Oh,
hey, you're
okay.
All right now.
All right. So yeah, it's just a raggedy old Fox body.
Yeah.
And the top still
Far
works.
Far from raggedy.
Yeah.
Now,
if that's raggedy, I don't want to know what his definition of clean is.
yeah, I'm super picky. You know what I mean? So you always nitpick your own stuff the worst. And honestly, like my car, like in my business, we wire and tune and plumb race cars. So like my car gets put on the back burner, like second grade. You know what I mean? It's not the focus of attention on everything. But no, it's a nice car and it drives well. Cruises around town really good, and pulls the trailer good. And it's reasonably fast for what it is. So.
Well, someone just had a question.
About the gas.
El Salazar. He wanted to know, was there any issues with fuel supplies at the track?
Gentlemen, you want to answer this one, or you want me to?
I didn't have any issue.
No, we ran E85 and we were able to find it everywhere. So.
Yeah, that's probably the one advantage that I would say that they had up there versus Florida. Is there's probably more places for E85 up there.
Yes.
So
I seen somewhere where
the one thing that Tom did to start was he got VP Racing Fuels involved from the very beginning, where they haul an 18-wheeler to every single racetrack. Because obviously some tracks will only have certain flavors, quote unquote, of fuel. Others may not. And they just went ahead and they put out like fuel request forms basically from the start. So if you were a racer and you set up in time, they would carry the fuel from racetrack to racetrack for you. So you didn't have to worry about making room for it in your trailer, or if you didn't carry a trailer, worrying if the racetrack would have some and if it was still going to be there by the time you get it.
Yeah, I remember seeing something wrote up on that about VP participating by doing that for everyone. So that was a really, really cool thing.
That we didn't need it this year because we built fuel cells on the side of the trailer, and So like we could haul pump gas and methanol like in 2 separate tanks. And then we had like a transfer system. It was kind of redneck, but it worked really good. So like when we would get low on fuel, you pull over and then you hook up some hoses and you could transfer fuel. But because we had to make 3 passes on day 3, we started to get like kind of like low on what we had. So I asked, I said, y'all still have any methanol? And he was like, yeah, I got plenty. And it was nice to know that like, hey, I don't have to, scrounge, hope that the next racetrack we got has methanol. And I know my one customer, Ed Enzer, I think made VP's trip worthwhile single-handedly. You know what I mean? Because he drove every mile on C12.
Oh, geez.
Sounds expensive.
Wow, that's an expensive gas bill.
Yeah.
So he drove every mile on C12. So, and then he raced it on C23, I believe he's on. So.
Yeah, just since he's mentioning that, and Mitch and I talked about that during the intro before we got everybody on. So he finished 3rd overall in average. I want to say it was like a 750 something average is what he had, and blew the previous NA record like completely out of the water, and ended up resetting the record not only in pass but in speed, or not only in average but individual pass. He went, I think, 746. And did so with, like you said to me earlier, the fact that he was using less motor than what had previously been used in NA competition. 753 at 178. So, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Ed is a beast. Ed's a maniac. They slept underneath that car every night.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's wild.
Was that his first drag and drive?
No. He's been doing this for a long time.
Okay.
He actually he told me that he was a passenger in Kurt Anderson's NA winning Mustang several times, and I think this is his 2nd or 3rd time behind the wheel. He said,
"Yeah, he that car is fixing to be faster." I'll just say that. So the tune-up that's in that car is the tune-up that I put in the car to get it to start, idle, and like take throttle. Yeah,
so he hasn't even touched it yet. Basically,
no,
there's a lot of that.
No, and the motor it's in. It's a 632. It's a nitrous motor, so it's not like an all-out radical NA combo. It still has a nitrous converter in it, but the car works too well. Like he called me like a month prior to the event, and he was like, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
You got enough to run over the record." He's like, "Well, you think we can go?" I'm like, "It don't matter. Just go win, and then worry about it later."
Yeah.
So,
and for those people that don't understand the drag and drive stuff, the NA combo really doesn't get as much love, in my opinion, as it should, because not that I'm saying that you can literally throw a turbo or a power adder at stuff and run 7, 8s, and 9s effortlessly, but it's a lot easier, especially when you factor in the road miles, on the fact that those things are abusing stuff because of the compression ratio and everything else that you got going on with them.
I like the NA stuff strictly because I'm aware of how hard it is to make power on motor. You know what I mean? So like when I see some 7-second all motor cars, I'm like, God dang. You know what I mean? Like
that car went down. It just went right down the track every day too. It's just like it was
pretty
so effortless.
Like 112 to 114, 60 foot. It literally looked like a bracket car. It just kept laying down the same run almost every time.
Yeah, it was the tune-up was pretty close, and it just was, it'll repeat everywhere because it's light. You know what I mean? It's not a heavy car. I'm supposed to tell everybody it's 3250, but I think it's actually 3100. But he's got his stuff together, man. He ran a really good program and did a good job. I'll tell you something I learned when we were down in Florida for Sick Week, and was introduced to me again for Sick Summer, is that and this isn't me to, and I don't want anybody listening to think that I'm being rude about this. There's not a lot of people that know how to race that do this stuff. And I know it kind of sounds weird, but they don't know how to race. That doesn't mean that they don't know how to have a great time. That doesn't mean that they don't know how to win drag and drive. And hell, there's a lot of people that race that don't know how to make them live going down the road, right? It's just two different sides of the coin.
Right.
There's a lot of people that don't know how to race. Like when we were in the staging lanes, I was approached by a lot of people, what do you think of the racetrack? And I'm like, it's right there. Go look at it. Well, I don't know what I'm looking at. Well, are we allowed to go out there and be like, man, they ain't going to tell me no,
Right.
They saw me from the tower every morning. We walked the whole racetrack.
I honestly think that maybe just from my perspective, and you and I, we've talked about the fact that I've got a lot of racing experience, not necessarily going fast, but I do have a lot of racing experience. I think that the drag and drive, the whole deal of it being not necessarily competition. It's more like a big family outing, and everybody is out there for the same reason. They're out there to have a good time. Whether you have personal goals or you want to try and win a class or place top 3 or whatever, we're all out there for the same reason. And I talked to a huge number of people specifically for Six Summer. I'm not sure why, but were first time ever dragon drivers. Some people had never made a pass down a racetrack before. And I don't know what did that, but the way that we always talk about it is, hey, they're still getting to the racetrack. They're still getting into the sport. And that's what we need.
Yes.
Right. It in a sport that, at one time that a lot of people said that was dying, drag racing is on the up. And I think a lot of people are starting to understand it a whole lot better because of a podcast like this from other different people as well that does them. It brings them in and they're like, hey, you know what? I think I can do that. And the next thing you know, they're going to be a drag racer. They got a young kid or a young girl that's in their family, and they become a second generation racer. And that's how we keep on building our sport.
That's right.
I'll say that the people in the Midwest were awesome, or upper Midwest, wherever we were, whatever. The people were awesome, right? Like the fans were awesome. The spectators were awesome. It was amazing. I've never really dealt with a group of people that was so cool. You know what I mean? So interested, and like, I don't have kids, and I'll go on record. I'm not really a huge fan of children. You know what I mean? Cause like they're fragile, they're loud, you know what I mean? Like they're disruptive. Like I don't like kids, right? They're just not my thing. We have English bulldogs.
This sounds like me. Stop it.
Right. Like we have dogs. Like we have English bulldogs, right? But something happened when we were up there that I was like blown away by. We had kids come up to us with their parents, right? And they were asking genuine questions, not just like, oh, this one's pretty, or oh, this is a cool car. They were asking genuine questions. And it kind of made me realize that, like, man, these little kids, and we're talking, I don't know how old kids are, but like they're like whatever to my waist. So maybe that's 5 or 10 or I don't know, whatever. So the little kids, right, in my opinion, under 10 years old, asking questions about stuff that like you wouldn't think that they should know. You know what I mean? Is that a Ford or is that a Chevrolet engine? You're like, oh, you're 6. How do you know this? You know what I mean? Like I had one kid say, no, there's no distributor in the front. I'm like, what? What?
That's awesome.
And I was like, it was actually really awesome to see the young kids get involved in it because again, we're all getting older. So eventually it's going to be where I can't do this anymore, but I still want to watch it. And those are the kids that were out at the racetrack last week that are going to be doing it. Yep. We always try to encourage the younger kids to get into it. Like when we work on cars for customers, I always try to encourage to have their whole family involved because, well, to be honest, if the wife isn't into it, it's going to fall apart. You know what I mean? Eventually it's going to be like you spend too much time with that thing and not me. So I always try to encourage that. And there's not many kids out there that don't like hearing a loud car doing a burnout or, you know what I mean? Like, there's not many kids out there, that don't like that kind of stuff. So I think it was the Midwest really showed out when it came to the family. Dude, I had a kid ask me to sign a hat. I was like, no, Cletus is over there. Because I'm like 6'3". I figured I looked like Godzilla to this like 2.5 foot tall kid, and he thought he was looking for the giraffe, Cletus.
Yeah.
I said, no, he's right over there. He said, no, you guys. And I was like, you sure? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, this is awesome. I was like, let me give you something. I don't have much, but like, I want to give you something. Here's beef jerky. That's all I got. You know what I mean? But have it, So no, it was an awesome experience. The Midwest was definitely way different of a vibe than Florida. I loved Florida too. We had a great time in Florida too, but it was definitely a really cool vibe up there.
Jimmy, would you say that was kind of the same way you felt? Because I know you've done them both. Did you feel that was the same kind of feedback you got, the same kind of vibe you got?
Yeah, it was cool to see all the fans in the small towns on the side of the road and lined up watching. That was our first time ever being up in that area ever. So it was different. It was nice to not be in traffic, stuck in traffic like Florida is. Traffic everywhere you go. So those nice country road drives were really cool for sure.
Yeah, it was I really enjoyed it up there. I don't like the roads. I didn't really like the bugs, and the heat was terrible. But the whole deal, with all the people there was awesome.
Right.
If you guys were going to pick a stop, like a checkpoint,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
we'll take Motion Raceworks out of it because obviously that place is cool with everything they got going on. What would be your favorite checkpoint that you did over the week? I have a feeling I know what one of you might say, but I'm going to ask anyway. So
I'm trying to. I have a blur. I don't really remember them all.
Right.
Well, let's see. So we ended up going to, what was it, Rock River on day one.
Yeah.
Day two, we went to the Auto Historian Center. And then after that, I want to say we went to the Mars Cheese Castle.
Right.
Then day three, I forget what the first one was. Mitch and I were talking about this. I forget what the first stop was on day three, but the second stop was Field of Dreams.
Yeah, that was cool.
Day, I skipped the stops, unfortunately, because the Tahoe ended up developing a lifter tick. So I was worried that it wasn't even not only going to get me back to the beginning, but then I had to drive it 8 hours back to Michigan, and thankfully it made it. But it was a little touchy for a moment. It shut off 3 times.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
Yeah, so
I like
I didn't go to any of the day 4 ones, but I saw pictures of what was it, the lake, and the Havlicks opened their shop up, I think. And then obviously the end of day 4 was Motion Raceworks. I'm trying to remember what day 3 the first stop was, but I'm trying.
The ones what wasn't a checkpoint, but that Dukes of Hazzard car on top of the building.
The horse nest, yeah,
yeah.
That was on day 2, I think.
Yeah,
that was cool.
So I think my favorite was probably Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
that was my favorite. Mars Cheese Castle was disappointing.
Were you expecting more cheese?
So when you go to a castle, you expect a king. Some guards. There was no Cheese King. I walked in, I was like, well, "Where's the king?" And the woman who's like working the counter, she's like, "What?" I was pretty.
However, to be fair, the fact that they had a brewery in the back that was open, and the fact that they were making grilled cheese any way you want it was pretty solid. Those are 2 things I weren't expecting.
Yeah, no, it was kind of neat, but I was just disappointed. I really wanted to see like a king. I wanted to see like a drawbridge. I really wanted to see,
like a moat going around it.
Yeah, like a cheese moat. It should have been like a moat of hot nacho cheese.
Oh, dude.
Like that's what they should have done.
That's right.
If I built a castle for cheese, that's what I'd be doing.
I got some questions real quick that's popped up. James wanted to know, was this y'all's first time running at Cordova?
Cordova, yeah. For me, yes, it was the first time I'd ever been to that racetrack. It's got a lot of history. The event staff that was there, like the track staff, was very nice, very accommodating from day 0 when we got there. So, and I think that, as been alluded to, one of the main reasons that Tom did it there compared to, he's from Michigan. So the fact that we traveled that far to go to at least 3 of the 4 tracks that he picked is because they all have history with drag and drive, specifically Hot Rod Drag Week. And the spectators and the fans always show out at Cordova, at Great Lakes Dragway, and Byron. We've always seen big crowds there for drag and drive. So I think that's why Tom wanted to try it.
All 4 tracks for me were new.
Yeah, me too. Besides South Georgia, I've never raced out of the state of Florida.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been all over the place, but I never came over there because it's I didn't think there was a lot of people that lived in Iowa because it's Iowa. You know, like I know that sounds dumb, but I just
Fly
never.
over state.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just never put anything into it. You know, I was just
Right.
like, well, why are there so many people here? When we got to Iowa, I was like, the hell are everybody doing here? You know what I mean? Like, you know, is the band in town or something? Like, what's going on? The circus, but yeah, apparently the circus was in town. No, all those tracks to me were new. All of them were new to me.
Devin, you bring up a very interesting point that Dan Watts actually just commented about, and I will tell you that it happened to me too, and I literally had to turn around and see if Cletus was standing behind me when somebody asked me, but I have never in my life ever gotten asked for an autograph, and on the last day I got asked for 5 of them, and I honestly thought that they must have been mistaking me for somebody else. Like, now the employee joke is Garrett, who does all of our illustration stuff, he gets mistaken for Tom Bailey every now and then because they both have goatees, they both have bald heads, you know, they both have about the same build. So he said he got mistaken for Tom 3 times during the week. But to have somebody walk up and ask me to sign something for them it took me a minute. And I think that on one hand, that's great that we're influencing the next generation or somebody to get into this. Because again, we've talked about this before. Drag and Drive started with one event. Up until probably, I want to say 10 years ago, there was no more than 3. This year, there's 30. That really says something about how the community is growing.
Sure.
Yeah, Dale, he wanted to know, would y'all be interested in trying Rocky Mountain Race Week? Sorry.
It would be interesting. But Devin can probably speak to this. Well, actually, both of them probably could, being what they do. The altitude for those tracks is 7,000 to 10,000 feet, specifically at Vandermeer. So you're looking at a whole different set of circumstances. Plus, Rocky Mountain Race Week, there's, I want to say, 2 drive days. It's a 7-day deal, not just 5.
Right. And then the haul to get there from Florida is another couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely.
See, I couldn't justify taking off, like, because it's every bit of like 13 days for me, right? Like, so you leave, it's 2 days of driving to get there, 2 days of driving to get home. Then you're going to have another, whatever, that event's like 7 days long, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't justify going that far to do that when I don't have to. You know what I mean? I don't have to go that far. You know, 7,000 foot, 10,000 foot. I don't really care about that because like they get ran over at 7,000 foot or, you know, it's at sea level. Like it don't matter. You know what I mean? We'll run them over at sea level or at 10,000 foot. But I know how to tune around all that. That's fine. But I don't want to just drive for friggin' 30, 40 hours just to get there, then drive. Their drives are wild. You know what I mean? Their drive days are wild. And like hats off to the guys that are doing that. I just can't justify, you know, like especially when there's the availability close, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think Matt Frost is doing a really cool thing for the people that live there. Like, or that are, you know, within like 8-10 hour ride.
Right.
But I mean, the drive we just made, and then I got to tack another 10 hours onto it. I'm like, man, I'm out, you know?
Yeah,
not doing it.
I would honestly say that, you know, from my perspective, I would love to do it, especially considering Vandermeer is closing this year. Unfortunately, I just can't due to work obligations. But Jimmy, I think you'd agree with me. There's a lot of people that probably look at Vandermeer and Rocky Mountain Race Week and look at it similar to, say, what Sick Week is for us. We live in Florida, so it's not a big deal. But there's a lot of people up north or even in the Midwest or, you know, in the middle of the country that probably say, we can't race for another 3 or 4 months. We're just going to go ahead and take the family and take 2 weeks off and drive to Florida and do it.
Yeah, racing in Florida in February it doesn't get any better than that.
Mm-hmm.
The weather's great down here.
Yep. And Bradenton, I think, if I'm not mistaken, only closes for like 2-3 weeks just
Christmas
for
and New Year's. Yeah. People talk about winter builds. You know, down here we're racing in the winter and during the summer.
There's no off season.
We're out on the boats during the summertime because it's just too hot to sit.
Correct. Yes.
I was looking at some data logs for customer stuff, and so I'm in South Carolina. We were testing on January 3rd, January 8th. February was Sick Week, and then I was testing again with another customer in the middle of February. I also looked back at previous year. We were testing in the beginning of December. So like, we don't really have a time off here. You know what I mean? Like, our downtime's like a couple weeks, but if I make a phone call and it's above 50 degrees, they'll open the racetrack. You know what I mean? So it's
that was what I was going to bring up. The difference, though, I would say, and feel free to jump in here. The difference I would probably say between South Carolina and Florida is we can race into 10, 11 o'clock at night, whereas like I did an event up at Carolina Dragway last November. Once the sun goes down there, they usually don't send anybody because at that point now your racetrack temperature is close to 50 degrees and it might be a skating rink no matter what.
Which racetrack?
Carolina.
House of Hook?
Yeah, Jimmy said that like there's times that they'll do it, but they prefer to race during the day if they can't help it.
We just ran finals for an all-steel glass race at like 1 a.m. just I think it was maybe a month and a half ago.
Then I stand corrected.
Well, but that doesn't mean that they wanted to.
Right.
You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that they wanted to. Darlington's got a problem with dew. So like
Florida has that problem too every now and then.
Well, once the sun goes down at Darlington and we get close to the dew point, there's so much fog you can't see the end of the racetrack.
Right. Bradenton's had that issue too, where they have like Bradenton. I think what is their curfew, Jimmy? I want to say it's like 11, 12 o'clock, depending on the day.
11 o'clock. Yeah, normally 11 o'clock.
There have been times where they have had enough fog there that you can't see past 8th mile.
Yep.
To where they'll just be like, okay, this is too risky. We got to stop.
Yeah, that's what happens at Darlington too. That happens quite a bit at Darlington during the summer. I just saw somebody say XRP in Texas. Oh, I know. Oh, XRP weekends in Texas are terrible. They are long. They are, you're there from, first round might start at like about 9 o'clock at night and finish up around 9 o'clock in the morning. That you run all night. Yeah, the night I like night racing. I prefer night racing. Because the tracks are not nearly as hot, so you can usually make the track work a heck of a lot better. I'll tell you, I wish we would have, for Six Summer, I wish we would have started a little earlier.
You mean earlier in the morning?
Yeah.
I mean, now I don't know why I didn't think about this, but again, it's the first year of him doing it. But yeah, I mean, the sun is obviously up earlier when you go up north. So yeah, I mean, that could be something that they could consider doing next year is instead of starting at 9, maybe get things on the racetrack at 7, especially considering that we're an hour behind. So it would be 8 Eastern time, and most people are going to be able to tune in and, as they said in the live chat, working while we're racing.
Yeah. My fiance works for me for our business, and there wasn't nothing getting done. You know what I mean?
I saw her jump into a couple of them.
Oh yeah. She likes to chit chat on the live stream.
Yeah, the live stream was very active up there, and I was thankful for it because it allowed me to get information on the drivers. And we're speaking to both of you. I've talked to both of you outside the announcer booth, but it really, again, to me, this is, regardless of how fast your car is or the money or the effort that you put into it, this is a grassroots approachable style deal. It's being done because there's no big purses. You're doing it for the right reasons, in my opinion. And that's what makes it, I think, relatable to people. Yes, you're going to have faster cars and slower cars, but no one's getting turned away from participating. The chat room went absolutely berserk over some dude running 14s in a 2021 F350 diesel truck.
Right.
Because that guy wanted to, he made I think he said he made 14 passes one day, and he ran like a 15 flat, a 1502, a 1505. In the chat room, every time he comes up is going, he needs to get a 14. And I'm like, see, it's the enthusiast deal. It doesn't matter how fast you run.
Exactly. Jimmy, to get to you real quick, what was your fastest pass of the week?
We turned it up on Friday like everybody I guess does, and it went 9:07 at 1:47. But we're trying to run 9:2 was our dial for the week, and we were doing great until we went 9:21 on Monday. 9:20 on Monday. Went 9:21 on Tuesday. Went 9:19 on Wednesday, and then Thursday we just 9:37 was the best I could manage.
Yeah, from beginning to end, if you throw Thursday out, their variance between quickest and slowest was 52 thousandths of a second. It was
If we could have took Tuesday's ticket and swapped it for Thursdays because they threw Tuesday, I would have been all right.
Something tells me that some people would have been happy to swap Tuesday's ticket. I know the one person in this chat that didn't want to do that, but Tuesday's ticket might have been faster than Thursday. Devin.
Tuesday's ticket knocking the tire off, still went like 740s or something. Like the Thursday's ticket was junk.
Yeah.
That whole, that was junk.
Yeah.
It screwed our whole average, which is fine. I mean, it's part of it,
Yeah.
Was the slower cars having problems as well?
Oh, yeah.
Some were, yes, absolutely. I think there were, and you guys feel free to jump in on this. I think some of the turbo cars got it figured out to where they were throwing everything at it towards the back half of the track.
Right.
Once you got past about 400 or 500 feet was when it seemed like it had a little bit of teeth. But if you knocked them off before the first 400 feet, your run was just going to suck.
Yeah, the problem with us was we took too much out of the 60. We didn't have enough to put in the back to make it up. Mm-hmm. So,
Devin, yours knocked it off, I want to say, at least twice or three times.
It spun at 60 foot, right where Sam, the prep guy, said it was going to spin. Mm-hmm. He said, your car's going to spin at 70 foot. I was like, okay. And so for reference, on Thursday, I put a tune-up in it that I felt if it went down, if traction control could catch it fast enough, or enough, I should say, and it just went down, rode the dots the whole way down, it would go like 730s, 740s, right? So I slowed it down dramatically. It spun at the 60 foot or 70 foot out, spun again right around 200 foot out. It spun again at about 450, 500 foot out. And then Josh rolled back in it, and then I had the chutes set up to automatically deploy. When the chutes popped, he just got out of it and coasted and went like 830.
Yeah, at only like 141 miles an hour.
Yeah. So it was like it was. So we talked about it. We were like, what do we want to just try to ease it on out there and like maybe go 760, 80, maybe something like that. Mm-hmm. And we decided that it wasn't worth risking safety of Josh or of the car. So it's just like I don't want to, because like my car, rolling the power in late with my car is a bad idea. Right. You don't do that. You know what I mean? Because like it annihilates the tires, because the way the chassis is built and set up and the way it works is that the car separates dramatically, rises in the back of the car, and then it'll top the shock out, and then it starts to compress with some downforce in the back of the car. If you just try to pour power to it after, like, say, the 330, maybe 3.5 seconds into the run, something like that, it annihilates the tires. And then that's when it gets dangerous. So, we tried something and we decided, screw it, we'll pull the plug and just take a bad ticket and go with it,
And James still ended up winning the unlimited class, which in my opinion, needs to be looked at. I mean, I was telling Mitch earlier, I don't know if it's been verified or not. The only radial small tire car that has ever won the class with no rules, and you moved from where the car fits, which is modified, into unlimited, and you weren't even running the smallest tire. You ran a 235 on the car earlier this year. So it was what we jokingly referred to as the schmedium tire. Yeah.
Well, we only felt that it was fair to go to unlimited because we were on a 275. You know what I mean? And all those big tire guys, I mean, it's not fair to go. I didn't feel like it was going to be fair to run in modified against guys that are on 315 radials or, maybe a 31-inch slick, but like the big floppy tire guys, I felt it was only fair to run them over with a 28 on it. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, we came with a big tire. You know what I mean? We're on 275s. That's a monster truck, And I really felt like that was really the only fair move to make. We talked about it on day 0, and I just kind of rolled around the pits and just talked. And I was like, are you in unlimited? And there's some people in unlimited. I was like, well, this is what we got to do. So. A lot of people said that we were dumb and that you shouldn't have done that. And I was like, well, we'll find out. You know what I mean? My motto was like, if we're going to lose, let's lose in the biggest class they got. So at least we got an excuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
and you ended up winning with what I looked at was your average was over half a second better than the next radial tire car anywhere near you.
yeah, and it got thrown, like the average got destroyed with that day 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you and Goldstone both would have finished with 6s, obviously.
sure.
Would have
Yeah.
tossed
Yeah.
day 4.
Oh, if I had the balls to run the car down the racetrack on day 4 again, we would have had a 6-second average, but I just didn't. You know what I mean? If we would have went 740s on day 4, we'd have had a 6-second average. But I watched Goldstone use the entire racetrack. I mean, the entire racetrack. Like, there wasn't a single part of that thing that he could rent out to anybody. And he went 740s. And I talked to him after it, and he's like, "Yeah, we're done." I said, "Yeah, all right." He goes, that one was tough. He's like, "That was a mess." I said, "Okay."
Yeah. So you're over a second slow, and he's over 8/10 slow from what they should be running.
Yeah. Oh no, our day, yeah, exactly. Well, our day 4 slip was almost a second and a half slow.
Yeah.
It was a second and a half slow. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and while we're on that subject, Jimmy, your slip was over 2/10 slow from what you turned in as your best slip. And if you don't mind, I want to take this transition to talk about the fact that this is your third different class that you've run. You started with the Bullseye Challenge, where you finished second on 2 days.
Right.
That
was the first time the car had ever been out. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Bullseye Challenge is hard. I mean, that whoever thinks that that's easy, suit up and bring it. I mean, that you're all over the place. Then you run 6 street race, which is an 850 capped class, which I think is kind of where the car lands based on how it's built. But again, if you're running 9-teens, 920s, you're probably going to finish out, I'd say top 10, but outside the top 5 normally.
Correct.
And then this one you do pro dial your own, where you're looking at consistency.
Yeah, which I think is where the car is going to fit, where we can actually compete. And last year's sick week, that was my first official entered race. Like, I'd always been a test and tune type guy. That was my first ever going through tech and actually in a race. So, not knowing what the car was going to do, and it was great though. And like I said, the Bullseye Challenge, that you're right, that is hard to try to change your dial and that much every day, but it was fun. Yeah. But I think the Pro DYO is probably where the car will fit for hopefully sick week next year.
Right. It allows you to work on your own program.
Yeah.
I got to say, I got so when I first, I've been racing for a really long time, and I've always thought like dialing, I was like, that's stupid, right? And then I had my eyes opened about DYO about a year and a half ago. That is now more so in drag and drive, not necessarily like bracket racing, because I'm still not all about bracket racing. You know what I mean?
I understand it's not a spectator sport. I get it.
Right. But I got to say this, and you put me on record saying this. The most impressive class at our event that we hold in the Southeast and at Sick Week and Sick Summer and every single drag and drive is the DYO class. And people, I get it, whoever wins unlimited or the fastest pass or you know what I mean, or goes 200 plus mile an hour gets a lot of attention, right? I understand it. But DYO is impressive. The margin for victory is like, it's decided by, 0.001 sometimes.
This year it was 2,000. The top 2 in DYO were separated on 4 time slips by 19 thousandths. Number 3 was 21 thousandths. That's how close it was.
It's crazy.
And you got to think because you as a racer, you have to remember, man, they were all in the same racetracks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they dealt with all the same stuff. And like the prep change from one track to the other throws you off, right? And then air from one day to the other throws you off, and they nail it. And I'm like, man, DYO is the class. Like, I understand that spectators want to see wheelies, and I get it. You know what I mean? Right. And they want to see like really fast stuff. But the most and I've said this after our event, we held our event, our drag and drive event here in the Southeast, and our DYO winner was a tie out to the 3rd digit, right? It was 0.000, and we had to break the tie based off of whatever the faster car was.
Wow.
3rd place was 0.001 off their dial.
I
was like, what the? When I got all the slips, I'm looking at them, I'm putting it in the computer, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, the hell? Something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean 0.000? Like, what did I screw up? So I'm like, I'm going back, I'm like reading it, I'm like, and all my math channels in Excel are right. Like all the calculations are right. Like, and I went over to the guys that ran .000 and I said, have y'all been keeping track of your time slips? Like kind of jokingly. And they were like, yeah. And the one guy was like, it should be .000. And I'm like,
they knew, yeah.
I'm like, God dang, y'all knew? And they're like, yeah. And our event's obviously a little different because we have a lower car count. Which is kind of semi by design, but whatever. We have a lower car count, and they have a little bit more opportunity to make a couple more hits. So some of those guys are making a lot of passes throughout the day.
Right.
But it blew my mind when the first time we did our event, and DYO was the most impressive. Like I really was like hoping we were going to see unbelievably fast radial tire stuff at our event, and then I saw DYO, and I was like, man, I've been racing fast radial shit for a long time. Who cares about that? This DYO stuff is pretty serious. This is intense.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, I like that class a lot.
Well, they say football's a game of inches. Well, they need to start watching drag racing because
You're right.
it is definitely
for sure
by inches.
Yeah, it's unreal how close it gets. You were saying something about it. Drag racing's on the rise, right? So I was thinking about this. There's a lot of commotion in the news and whatever that you hear about transgendered people in different sports, right? And I'm not gonna do anything. I promise I'll be nice. This is the only sport, right, where you could be a tranny and not have an unfair advantage. I think we need to run with that. You know what I mean? It's a level playing field no matter what you identify as.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't even matter, we were thinking about it. I was like, man, if you're a swimmer, and you can show up and smoke a bunch of the girls. If you're could you imagine Mike Tyson boxing in the women's league, But if Mike Tyson showed up to drag race and he decided he wanted to be a woman, it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter.
Right. It wouldn't matter. So this is like the only sport where it doesn't matter what you are. Everybody's got a fair shake at it. It doesn't matter. And I think that's where a lot of new people are starting to realize it. Like this whole training thing might be a benefit to drag racing. You know what I mean? It might be a positive to bring more people in. Derek wants to shoot me.
The funny part is, Devin, though, that you and I talked about this. The guy who ended up winning 2 of the 4 DYOs, or no, the Bullseye Challenge. Excuse me, not DYO, Bullseye Challenge. Had a 1930 Model A, like with a supercharger on it and everything. I'm looking at it going, yeah, this is not going to be something that one day your bullseye number is 11, and he goes 10-11 with a 6. The next day it's 54, and he goes 56 something and wins. First and only person that's ever won 2 of them on the same event. And I figure, okay, it's because he knows his car, he knows when to lift, whatever.
Yep.
So, and I walked over to him trying to solidify what I had figured, what I had guessed, stuck my foot in my mouth and chomped down on it whole because he said, yep, I started working on this thing 3 months ago. So it's basically like what you just said. I mean, the good news is that it's literally open to just about everybody. And I honestly would love to say, if you show up with something that's unproven, the people that have tested their stuff and beaten on their stuff should have an advantage. There are times where they should and they do. There are times when they should and they don't. So
drag racing is the most diverse sport there is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you guys know a guy by the name of Dan Parker.
Yes.
He's blind. You can't play baseball blind. You know what I mean? This is the best sport in the world. You can't even play baseball blind, but he can drive a car blind. I mean, now granted, that's a pretty radical thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it doesn't matter. It's still being done. He's an amazing human being. But it just shows that there is no real limitations when it comes to drag racing. Like, can everybody be John Force? No. Right? No. But can everybody go out to a racetrack, have fun in whatever car they have, and be competitive in something that they are realistic about? Yes. And there's a pond for every one of these fish. You know what I mean? So that's what I like most about drag racing is the other thing I like about drag racing is that it's not judged, right? So it's not judged. It's like there's no lies about it. It's like there it is. if there's the time, the wind light came on, and it's over.
Right.
There's no judging, So
If
I
you
power
lose,
lifted
it's,
for a
it's
long
your
time.
fault.
Right. I power lifted for a long time, and we used to have 3 judges that would watch you make a lift, and and if maybe you didn't get along with one of them or something, they'd call no lift, even though you knew it was good. You're out there killing yourself for something, and it's based off of a judge. It's like, well, I don't like that. And, drifting, it's based off of judges, which drifting's cool and all to watch, but it's judged. This is like, hey, there's the win light. You won or you didn't win.
Exactly.
So, and then the time slip doesn't lie. It's hopefully more people, especially the younger ones, hopefully more people get into drag racing and keep it growing. And don't encourage the electric cars. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. I'm anti electric car. If I can't hear it, smell it, and feel it, I don't want it.
Well, one thing I think is, I'm not into the whole electric car thing either. But when you go to your NHRA divisional finals and you're able to go out to Pomona and race, they do have a class. They do separate those electric cars, and they have their own race between electric cars. And I think as long as they do that, I'm okay with it. But I'll be honest, I don't like them running in regular classes with the other cars. They don't heat up like our cars. There's the cool down period that you have to worry about trying to get your car cooled down before the next round. Those factors doesn't really bother them, and us who drive regular combustional engines, we have to.
Right.
That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't like it because they don't make any noise.
Yeah, that is a weird sensation.
All you hear is the tires rolling through the glue.
Yeah, it's so weird. You're like, what? This is lame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if the nachos are good at the concession stand. Not the electric cars. That's what I think.
I've seen something from James. He was talking about Friday. The one guy that blew the front clip off, and that was actually Goldstone, with his javelin that did that.
First and only pass that he made, and I didn't realize until afterwards that either on the drive or on one of the racetracks, it had tagged the lower spoiler section of the front end and had ripped it up. So if you go back and you look at the photos that I actually just posted about 2 hours ago, you can see the whole front end of the car has 200-mile-an-hour black tape on it before he made that pass, like when he is just coming off the starting line. And I stuck my foot in my mouth again and said that I thought he blew his door off, because that was what happened at Hot Rod Drag Week last year. He literally blew the whole door apart where it was like in sections, and they electrical taped it back together, and he made it to the last day. So I figured, okay, that's what happened. It pressurized the interior again. It blew the door off. Well, from the tower, I couldn't really see it all that well. Until they got down there, they told me, oh, it's the front end. Now that I've gone back and looked at the live stream, I'm like, yeah, I can't understand why I didn't just look at the live stream and realize it was the front end. But it literally ripped it off of there. I mean, like, when they went and interviewed him in the pits, there were still spots of fiberglass that were still attached to the car. Like, the Zeus fasteners were still on the car. And somebody people kept commenting in the live stream saying, do you think he'll make another pass? And I'm like, with no front end aerodynamics, I'm going to say no, because that thing was probably light in the front end when it ripped off.
I tried to get him to lock in on a little grudge race, heads up 8th mile.
I saw somebody post that. Yes.
Yeah, I tried, and he was like, man, I ain't got a front end. And I was like, hey, you're lucky, because when we turned in slips on the last day, like, we were looking at each other's slips, and I was like, man, this would be a pretty good race. To the 8th, to the quarter too. It'd be a good close race. It'd be good to watch. And I said, but you'll get ran over. I said, just let me know. We're welcome to run you over on them big stupid tires. And he was like, I ain't got a front end. I was like, well, you're safe now. And you know what's awesome about Bryant, right? Is I say that to him. He knows I'm joking, right? He knows that we're just messing around. But instead of getting pissed about hearing that, which is the reaction that some people have, he said, well, I guess I better go get this front end fixed. I can't let some stupid little radial tire win something at Drag Week. And that's the perfect attitude. I was like, awesome. Like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's what everybody should want to hear, is like,
right.
Like, I'll go get the front end fixed so we can run you over. That's what, that's when you look at Pro Mod, like NHRA Pro Mod, in my opinion, Pro Mod took off when Stevie Jackson got involved.
Mm-hmm.
Because he would show up to a racetrack or they'd be doing live interviews and he would just be
Oh man.
crap talking everybody, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And, talk about how he's going to run everybody over, and you know what I mean. And it was all in good fun, and it wouldn't matter if he went out and lost first round. He's still going to do it. Like he's still going to do it, and that's the whole point because you get people that aren't necessarily, maybe they don't really know about drag racing. They see some clip on Facebook or YouTube of some young little cocky dude that, running his mouth at NHRA Pro Mod, and they're like, well, what is this? They start watching and they go, man, I want to see this. I want to be involved in this. I think I'm saying air quote rivalries, right?
Right.
Are private. You know what I mean? Like when Tom and Larry were going back and forth in drag week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody knew about it. Everybody picked their side. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everybody had their side picked and who they were rooting for, but it didn't matter whose side won, really. You know what I mean? It didn't matter which one of them got to the fives first.
Right.
It was just a drive to get both of them to the fives.
It creates excitement around the sport. Speaking of mentioned Pro Stock, you got the rival there. You got Titan KB Racing, and you've got Elite Motorsports.
Yep.
And that creates a lot of drama, which brings fans in to watch it more.
Oh, absolutely.
It's great for the sport.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, that's what. I'll be honest. I can't believe that Sick the Mag aired my interview from day 5 because
I thought it was good because whether you agree with it or not, it gets people talking. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Laura just told me earlier that it got shared 20,000 times or 40,000 views or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy.
Yeah,
Nice.
I saw somebody put it on a reel within 24 hours and just played that section of it.
Yeah. But I was, when the camera went off, I said, man, y'all ain't gonna post that. And he's like, I don't know if they will or not. And and I said, well, if you do, I bet you it gets a lot of attention. It'll get more people amped up into this stuff,
That's right.
We do with racers right now that are they're chomping at the bit to go to the racetrack on Friday to test and race on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
We need more people that want to do that, but for drag and drive. That they're not doing a last 3-day thrash to get the car done, but they're doing the last 3-month thrash to get a car done. You know what I mean? I just want to see it grow. So, and if I got to run everybody over on 270 with 275s, then that's what we got to do. You know what I mean?
So,
Derek, have you heard of the date for Drag Week yet?
Drag Week's already out. Yeah, I want to say it's
September.
Yeah, it's September, the 3rd week or something, Devin.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to say it's September. I want to say it's 17th through the 23rd, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Okay.
The question I'm going to ask, even though I have a feeling that I'm probably going to get 2 completely different answers on this, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, there's part of me that likes it, but then there's part of me that goes, it's not what was originally intended. The Drag and Drive World Championship. Devin, you're obviously now with 2 wins in the driver's seat to be able to say, I can go to one more race, I can kick ass and possibly win because it's based on a point system. It doesn't matter what class you run. The only additional ones you can get are for setting a national record, having a 6, 7, or 8 second average. You get some bonuses and so forth. But you've run 2 events, so you've got points. Jimmy, you've run 2 events, and now you have points. How do you guys feel about a world championship being decided in drag and drive? Do you feel like it's a good idea? It's the next evolution, or do you feel like it just has no place in this section of the sport?
You go first, Jimmy.
Oh, thanks.
No pressure.
I don't know. I mean, would it be just all the events combined and you just look at points, or do they all have to meet at one event at the end to decide this?
Yeah, the way it's decided, I'm thinking they probably, in my opinion, looked at say what IHRA or NHRA does, where they say, okay, if you go and run however many events you want, we're going to count this number that, we're going to count your best finishes, basically.
Right.
Well, to make it, for lack of a better way to say it, and I don't mean any insult to anybody, I think what they did was they said, okay, if we're going to count events, they need to have a minimal number of days and a minimal amount of mileage, because there are, I hate to say this, and Devin, I'm sure you could chime in here, there are drag and drives that are 1 or 2 days. There are drag and drives that are 3 and 4 days. There's drag and drives that are 7 days. The stress on your equipment, the number of time slips you would have to turn in and so forth are drastically different there. So why would you weigh one of them the exact same as the other? So there's that prospect.
Right.
The other thing is to make it where it doesn't become top heavy, meaning the fast cars automatically get the advantage, is they give the same number of points if you win your class. So it doesn't matter if it's dial your own or if it's unlimited. The number of points you get for winning your class is the same. Now, the advantage you get is they do award bonus points for if you have a 6, 7, or 8 second average. I think they might even give them if you have a 9 second average too. But it's not like enough to where it's going to skew it so badly that somebody that runs in the 9s or 10s is not going to have a chance. But it's still there. And I think that maybe that's a carrot to get people with fast cars to go out more than once in a year. I don't know. I mean, like the whole rule package came out. I didn't have
how many of these events can an average guy do in a year?
Right, exactly. And I think, and I have to wonder, is that why? Because it becomes let's be honest. Do we see somebody who only shows up for a hot rod drag week because it's what they run? Do we only see somebody that shows up for a sick week because it's what they run? If there's an incentive to do more than one, then do you do it? Because, for example, you've done 2. Devin's done 2. Alex Taylor did 2 of them. Brian Goldstone did 2 of them. Would they have done 2 of them if this wasn't there? Would they have done two of them if there was only sick week and hot rod drag week? I don't know. These are all the questions that I don't have answers to.
Right.
So, but I don't know. I'm just wondering, is it the next evolution? Meaning that, yeah, it's great because somebody that makes the dedication gets recognized, which, to be fair, I see how that should be there. But is it the be all and end all? Does it become the kind of thing that we want the sport moving to, or this section of the sport moving towards?
It would be like creating it pretty much like its own league.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, own sanctioned
body.
body.
I would look at it.
So I have a view on this, and
so I want your opinion. The reason I asked Jimmy first is because he's in Florida. The problem that he would have is to tow anywhere outside of sick week is going to be longer for him than anybody else.
Correct.
And again, you're running a 9-second car. The odds aren't stacked against you, but you get points, like I said, for having a single-digit average throughout the week. You get points for setting a record, quote unquote, in your class. You can't really do that in dial your own or bullseye. So that's the problem you run into. So I kind of wanted to see what your opinion was as a competitor, but somebody who isn't going to be eligible for as many points as, say, somebody like Devin is, because he's running a class where you can A, set a record, B, you can get a low average, and a win obviously count, and a win in your class counts for points. So
well, here's a couple things I'll chime in about this, right? First, the whole setting a record in your class to get your points or whatever, that didn't pertain to 235s, because we didn't get points for setting a record. And it's because it was the first time that Sick Week ran 235s at their event, even though the rules are the exact same as other events that run the exact same class in drag and drive.
Because it hadn't been constructed before, yes.
Correct. But there was already a points lead or whatever, an ET, number 1 in 235. Right. But it still didn't count. That's very minimal. I don't really care about that. My overall view, right, like from the tower looking down, is the world championship thing, in my opinion, is lame. I think it's lame.
Okay.
And the reason why is because it's a participation trophy, and it's who can be the best participant. Because that's the way you score the most points. If you look at the point structure and the breakdown, is if you make it every single day and you turn in your slate, whatever, and so they get like 25 points or something just for completing event coming in dead last, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that there's going to be people that are retired. If they really cared about this, right? If they really cared about this,
Yeah.
They would go out and they go to do every single event.
Right.
The other thing is that how can you crown a world champion of anything when it's not a level playing field across the entire year? Right?
That's for sure.
Right.
So it's just not a level playing field the entire year, right? The other side of it is that why can't people just be like cool and happy with the fact that maybe they just won an event? You know, I mean, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's because we've won 2 in a row, right? But the reality of it is that when we went to Sick Week in Florida, we won on Friday morning before we made a pass. When we pulled in, we won.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, that was a win, right? That was a win. I don't care. I don't care if we could have made a pass on the last day and lost the whole thing. It wouldn't have mattered. We made it back. So the whole world champion idea is starting to draw people away from the fact that this is supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be low-key competitive, because no matter what, nobody shows up to these things wanting to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to lose anything, right? Like, you just don't. So it's supposed to be like low-key competitive, have fun, make good friends, make new friends, meet new people, and have a good time. Creating the whole world championship thing, I don't know. To me, I would want to say, I would say, like, if you're going to crown a world champion, do it now, and it's Rich Guido.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's because again, you look at the fact that so not that I would disagree with you, but you look at the miles he drove, the fact that it's a pure Pontiac, it's a stick shift car and what have you. Then there's the flips. I'm not saying I disagree, but the flip side of that is, okay, he chose to live where he is. He chose the car he's running.
For sure.
So there's people that could argue that point.
For sure, but that's the thing. That's
yours. Somebody could make a tin can Mustang with the same driveline yours has and run a whole lot faster.
Yep.
But it's what you choose to do, and I think that's what the drag and drive community is great for. Is it doesn't force everybody into a mold.
Right, for sure. But that's the scary part about a world champion thing. That's the counterproductive part of the world championship thing, right? Is that you're now going to try to drive people into that mold to try to chase this. If that was the idea, if the intention is to try to, so if they come out and say, hey, you're in the lead for this world championship thing, I don't care. You know what I mean? I just don't care. The other side of it is that what do you get?
Yeah, what do you get? Well, we're racing for. I have friends ask all the time, "What are you guys racing? What do you guys win?" Oh, you might win a helmet.
Yeah. Helmets are cool, you know what I mean? But that's the thing is well, what do you get? So, in my opinion, I won't make any extra effort that wasn't already accounted for throughout the year to chase that, right? That world championship thing. Mm-hmm. And if we by chance were to win it, then that's cool, but I'm not going to go out of my way to even care about it. I guess I try to focus on the now, right? So I had a blast last week, right? We had an absolute blast last week. And what I look forward to is the next time that we can go do that. You know what I mean? The next time that we get to go and away from work for a week and go have a really good time with really cool people. Because to me, that's what this is supposed to be about. I don't know. I mean, a points champion or a world champion or whatever is pro mod, pro stock. They finish up the year, however many points they got. Everybody raced at the same race. Yep. Everybody had the exact same opportunity to gather that many points. With this, there's just too many ways for you to make points just by participation. You know what I mean? And no, nothing against them. If those people want to go do that, go do it. You know what I mean? Have at it. It's just my personal opinion. I don't really care. You know what I mean?
Well, to me, it sounds like that you would, to make it fair for everyone to be able to participate, because of the distance, you would have to set up a northern or western thing and an eastern thing, and then have to meet in St. Louis to divvy it out at the end of the year.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's really what you'd that you'd have to make it regional, you know what I mean, or divisional or whatever. That's the only way you could really, I think. I mean, I guess I could be wrong. I don't know. I've got a long history of no time shootout racing and grudge racing and and streetcar racing where It's just heads up stuff. So I could be completely wrong, but my view on it is I think I don't know. I like the idea that this isn't super competitive. I like it. You know what I mean?
Yep. So let me follow that with this. Both of you have been successful as far as completing a drag and drive already. At this point going forward, what drives you and what are you looking for your next one? Meaning, do you go back to the same ones you've run because you have a good time at those locations to try to continue to do what you're doing, better what you did? Or do you start going, okay, we've done those one or two or whatever it is. Do we start looking at something we haven't done yet? What drives you to do your next drag and drive?
Well, for me, just being in Florida, 6
Right.
weeks here in our backyard, that was a great time. Like I said, February in Florida, it's perfect weather. And we'll probably stick with the dial your own class and just try to compete there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see us trying to make the car any faster. We are looking for a 69 Camaro, though, to make a new build. So if anybody out there's got one similar patinaed base model car, that maybe we'll make an 850 car out of that. But the whole drive is just the guys you meet and hang out with. I mean, the guy Randy Fuller that won our class, and the C10, the tan brown C10. We got to hang out with them.
The bad Leroy Brown car.
Yeah, we hung out with them guys all week, and that's what it's all about for us, for sure.
Yeah,
Devin,
your answer is going to come from a couple different perspectives. The fact that you're not only a participant, but you also, like you said, you put on the Southeast Street Meet that you do twice a year. So, what do you look at going forward? And ironically, there's a question that's popping up on the screen. It says, at what point does it stop being fun? When do you get out of it at a power level where you break every other pass? This is feeding right into your wheelhouse here. So there's a multitude of things, but let's start with that. What do you want to look for in your next drag and drive? Would it be repeating what you already do? Or are you going to try to look for the next challenge, the next one you haven't done yet?
So maybe I got a different view on this. I'm 40, which in the grand scheme of things is I'm reasonably young, right? But I also don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this. And I also don't know how much longer racetracks are going to be around. And I don't know how much longer the EPA is going to stay out of our business. So in my opinion, I'm going to do this as much and as often as I possibly can until we can't do it anymore, right? As far as what I'm looking to do, I have a good time. You know what I mean? Just have a good time with so a lot of people always talk about all the people that they meet, but it's also beyond the people that they meet. Like, you have a good time. So this past one, summer, it was me and a good friend of mine, Josh Davis, and we've been friends for a long time. We've worked on race cars together. We've been racing together for a long time. We've been doing a lot of stuff for a long time. We had, over the years, we have raced where, when we were racing together to the point where we're literally throwing shit in the trailer, fighting over stuff, right? But years ago, there was a point where him and I got into it pretty bad, and we didn't really speak to each other for like 6-8 months. You know what I mean? And that was bad racing, right? This past week, we went to Six Summer. We had the best time together that we could have had. It was a lot of work. It was hot. I got sunburned. He didn't get sunburned. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he didn't get sunburned. I did, right? We went fast. We won some stuff. We didn't really break anything. It was an awesome week, and we had a good time together. On top of just having a good time together, we met a lot of other people that were also having a good time together. Yeah. And if you turn on the news, everybody seems miserable. You go to a racetrack, and it seems like everybody's pretty happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, my only goal is to go out, have a good time, and maybe we do something cool again. You know what I mean? I don't really have I know you're probably looking for a lot more of an interesting explanation for it, but it's really pretty basic for me. It's like, plus I get to get away from her.
No, I'm fine. Listen,
she didn't hear that. She didn't hear that. We're good.
Yeah, I didn't hear Laura in the background.
Yeah. No,
I'm good with, because to me, the interesting thing is I've had people that have come to me and said, well, you haven't done a drag and drive yet. And I'm like, yeah, I always watched them, and now I'm announcing them. So I can't participate in them, at least not currently.
Right.
But my car, when I started racing it, I didn't own a truck or trailer for 14 years. So I understood what it was like to go to the racetrack, change the slicks when there were no decent DOT tires.
Mm-hmm.
I've changed tires in the rain. I've driven where you can't really see through the windshield, what have you. There's still some great memories involved in that. And like you said, I think the drag and drive deal brings you back, or should bring you back, to why we went to a racetrack in the first place, was to have fun and not worry about getting in trouble. We weren't doing it for a trophy. We weren't doing it for the money. We were doing it to go out there and have fun.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. That's what so many people miss, right? Like, is that, like, I deal with a lot of customers, and I tune a lot of cars that are very, very fast, very competitive, no time, grudge racers, heads up racers, radio racers. I deal with this a lot. And one of the questions I typically ask people is like, man, when was the last time you had fun doing this? And it's always one of those like, well, we won, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. I asked when you had fun. Oh, well, we cook out at the racetrack, and we, family comes, and we always have a good time. Okay, that's good. You could do that for 5 days in a row and not have all this stress.
Right.
So, to me, that's the way I look at it. I think that, which actually feeds right into that Dakota Stewart's question about when it stops being fun.
Mm-hmm.
You got to really, really, really hate money and love work when you start going as fast as we go with this car.
Yeah, I've watched plenty of these YouTube videos of these guys and other events, and you can tell they're miserable. I mean, pulling trannies in and out and every day and changing pistons, it's like it doesn't look like fun on that level.
Yeah, you referred to that earlier about not wanting to change the turbo because you figured the car would be more fun. So, Devin, the question becomes to you. Now you've gone from running really fast on a 235 to running really quick on a 275. Mm-hmm. So there's probably going to be the questions of when's it going to run 660s? When's it going to run 650s? And
we've already been there.
Change things.
Yeah. We've already been there. That 50s and 60s and stuff, but just not at this event. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To me, it's for the drag and drive stuff. I'm not really going to be chasing ET until we have to, and I don't think we have to right now. I just don't think you have to chase ET right now because a lot of people out there in the unlimited iron and modified categories are making gobs of horsepower, right? And they're losing sight of the reliability side of things, right? So, to me, we don't have to make more power. They don't have to go faster yet because we have to get beat. You know what I mean? So, that's why we got out of the 235 class, because we crushed the record in the class. And I was like, well, okay, we don't need to go any faster. We went way faster on the 235s than we did down in sick week. In testing, we went way faster. But we said that's what we're going to run, and that's what we did. And then when we left, I was like, well, we're done with 235s until somebody beats that record, right? I want somebody to take that away, right? When it stops becoming fun is when it only stops becoming fun when you start trying to punch out of your weight class. And do I have to explain that? I don't know if I have to explain that. Maybe
no, I get it. You're trying to do something that you either aren't trained to do, don't have the knowledge to do, or don't feel comfortable doing.
Or can't afford.
Right, exactly.
That's a big one, right? If you can't afford it, right? So if you if you have a car, and I tell everybody this, we do a lot of 8th mile racing down here. If you got a car that runs 520s to 550s, don't touch it. Leave it alone. Have fun with it. I'm saying 520s and slower, right? Mm-hmm. Don't touch it. Just leave it alone. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. If you really like the car, enjoy it. The moment you start taking away a lot of the things that you actually like about the car in an effort to go faster is when then that's when you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, my car is a job. My car is a job. There's a literal long, lengthy checklist that has to be done before we go make a pass, before we go drive it on the road. There's a long list of things that has to be done. Can we get it turned around in 45 minutes? Yeah, but it's because we've done it a lot. You know what I mean? So it's not as fun, and it really depends on what this person's view of fun is, right? So because you have to be kind of have to be dumb to think the drag and drive is fun anyway. You know what I mean? No sleep, gas station hot dogs, and boiling hot. You know what I mean? You're sweaty, you smell, you're dirty, and you're doing this for 5 days.
And you can't wait to do it again when it's over.
You kind of got to be dumb anyway to do it. You know what I mean?
We were at Texas Roadhouse every night, so no gas station hot dogs.
Yeah. Now to be fair, I would say, just from my perspective of doing the 2 races this year, I got into the hotel a lot earlier during Sick Summer than I did during Sick Week. Now, Devin, feel free to jump in here. Your car, like you mentioned, when you run that level of power and that level of ET and all the things you got to pay attention to, that takes more morning time, more setup time, more changeover time sometimes.
So for this event, not really.
Okay.
But I mean, we treated it just like we did in Florida. You know what I mean? Like we actually had probably more power in the motor, you know, when we ran it on 235s than we did this past weekend. But the quarter mile stuff, you just have to, when you're going that fast, instead of doing a task in say 5 minutes, you take 10 because you're worried about, you know, something going wrong at 200 plus mile an hour. You know what I mean? So you just take your time more. I think that's the way I would describe it for us. You know, the fact that I have a convertible top that didn't rip off at 218.5 mile an hour kind of goes to show the fact that you kind of take your time when you're tightening that thing back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Wanted to ask a question. You know, while you're out there going track to track and putting miles on that car in between, do you usually service it, like change the oil at one particular time, or do you can make it all the way through without changing the oil?
Jimmy, what'd you guys do?
You don't want to know. I pulled one spark plug on day one, and just to get an eye and look at it, and that was it. We change oil before we show up, and then we change everything after the event's done. And like I said, changing tires and shock settings, and I got to take the removable door bars out, so when we're on the street, you know, we don't have to climb over that stuff. And put the door bars back in when you get to the track, but it's a whole nother level.
I've been sitting here thinking about the funny car cage and all about this big he's got to dive through, you know.
Oh yeah.
So it's pretty easy for us. I mean, we've got a list of things to do, but it's not that hard.
We changed oil twice on this event. Check valve lash just about every day. Because it's a solid roller deal. We changed oil twice. 2 times. As far like we change plugs every morning. So we race on a set of plugs, NGK 10s, like number 10. So they're cold, right?
Right.
It's on alcohol and whatnot. And we leave those plugs in and we drive the car on that plug on pump gas, which makes it a tuning nightmare, but I've nailed it down to keep that number 10 plug happy on pump gas. So we drive it all night, then we drive it in the morning, and we get to the racetrack, and then we pull those plugs out, throw them away, put a fresh set of plugs in, and we race on those plugs. We got to disconnect the cable for the cable drive, which is real simple to do for the mechanical fuel pump. And change tires, air up the I've got airbags in the back of the car, so we don't even touch shock settings. We leave the shocks exactly the way they were, but we air up the airbags for when you hook the trailer up to it. Change tires and and slide the air filter in it. That's it. It's not much work. It's just that it's you have to do it a lot. You know what I mean? It's a valve lash deal. Like this go around, you know, we didn't really have any major failures. We did eat up a push rod or two, but it wasn't anything major. We had some oil temp issues. The reason we ate up a push rod is we had oil temp issues because I forgot to pull the belly pan off of the car going down the road. So once we pulled the belly pan, it dropped like 35, 40 degree oil temp, and we were fine. But yeah, it is. I'll say that for us, the work that has to be done, majority of it's before we show up. You know?
Would you say that the whole eighth mile versus quarter, eighth mile is easier on stuff than it is on quarter? That sick week was easier on your stuff than sick summer was?
From a mechanical standpoint, no, not really. There was really no difference because, like, I still had 40 pounds of boost in the motor when we were at sick summer. I had 40 pounds of boost in the motor at the 330. When we were here, we had 38 pounds of boost in the motor by the 330. So you know what I mean? It's like, and it's just a sustained abuse. So yeah, it's going to beat stuff up a little bit harder for sure, but not anything dramatic. In my opinion, I don't think. You know what I mean? The biggest abuse for the quarter mile is the nerves, the being shot, like worried about what's going to happen at 200 plus mile an hour.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the shutdown, and is the shooting, like that kind of stuff. That's really, I mean, we switched to dual air launchers on my car because of coming up there to run quarter mile. Was worried about it. So we put 2 air launchers on it instead of the single that I had. So I don't know. I'm still an eighth mile guy. I wish everybody would just kind of get on board and realize that the fact that the race is over after the 330 anyway. But it's safer to me, in my opinion. But
your car's picking up 40 to 50 mile an hour in the back half. You're going 160 to 167. Running on the small tires. I'm sure if you ran the 275s, it would probably even get a little bit more than that, probably.
We went 173 on the 235s.
Wow.
In the eighth. We went a 459 at 173 on the 235s. We went got a slip here somewhere. We went 170 or 170 even on the 275s. Was, I think, the best mile an hour from this past event. So as you can tell, a 3 mile an hour difference, I hit it with a lot more power on that little tire. So like, that's what I was getting at, is like that little tire, that's the difference in the racetrack. Like the 60 foots don't show it. If you look at the 60 foots, we went better 60 foots here up in sick summer, but we insisted on doing one and done only at sick week. Like that was the goal, was like, we had to do that one and done and hit the road. So I didn't really want to chance it, but up here, we figured we'd have a little bit more time and screw it, let's just go for it. So we were able to go a little bit faster 60 foots, but as far as power goes, we had probably more power in the motor on the little tire. So
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, even like on the last day, we went like 218.5 something.
218.55. I know, because I remember you asked me, do we have top speed? Because Goldstone's was 218.41. It was that close.
Yeah. So I said, well, you won the overall thing, but we beat you at that at least. You know what I mean? Yeah. I told him, I said, and our front end stayed on. So how about that? And the roof stayed on, So
you guys both got guitars to take home.
Yeah. Laura's looking for something to hang it up with. So
yeah, they look pretty spiffy. That's for sure.
Cool.
Rick Johnson and the three quickest overall average guitars are definitely something to be proud of. I mean, I think that, again, goes back to what you said before. We're not racing for the money, but if you get something cool and collectible like that you can look at that reminds you of that week, it's pretty sweet.
I'll tell you, I had a customer come in the other day, picking up some parts or whatever that he had on order, and he's like, well, man, you just did that whole event. Like, what'd you race for? Like, how much money did you win? Because he's used to, you guys winning money. And I was like, yeah, man, it was a big payout. He's like, really? I said, huge. And he's like, did it pay out more than whatever? And I was like, oh, it paid out way more than that. He's like, man, I paid out $30,000. And I'm like, yeah, no, we won this. And like, I went over in the corner, it was like in a box, and I'm like, yeah, we won this, and like a helmet. And he's like, was it full of cash? No. And he's like, you didn't win any money? And I'm like, no. And he's like, and you're all right with that? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with it. He says, why? I said, most of your shootouts you go to, you win $2,000-$3,000, whatever, right? But when you have a cool guitar or a helmet hanging up or something on the wall, you know what I mean? Like, in 20 years' time, I'm going to be 60 and telling people, like, yeah, back, you know what I mean? Like, we fucking whipped everybody's ass before all these electric vehicles took over. And you know what I mean? And everybody's transgendered and Skynet's taken over and everything. AI does everything for you. before everything went to shit, this was cool, and we won it. What am I supposed to do? Take a picture of 10 grand and go like, hey, back in my day, I won this.
Right.
Because, you know what I mean? So it's something that cool to hold on to, you know? The thing I really like the most, and I wish maybe Tom or somebody is paying attention, maybe you could say to Tom, they should do those big straw hats, right? Like they did in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we all get a straw hat?
Yeah. Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they would have given away on this one, but that's okay. They should do like a cool, like top 5 of the class straw hat.
Ooh, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Because they're not like super expensive to make, I'm assuming. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. The patch that you could make probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah.
Right. And like just do like a cool, like top 5, you know what I mean, of the class or something, you know? Or hell, even if you're going to give away awards for 1, 2, and 3 in the class, give straw hats away for 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that, something because like they gave us that hat in Florida for everybody. Like everybody got that hat, and that's hanging up in my other shop. I don't wear the hat, right? But like it's pretty cool to have. It's neat. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's another one of those things like behind you, you've got a wall full of plaques, right? Like you've got, like I see them, like you can see it. Like you see there's a lot of cool racing stuff behind you there. That's something you come in there, you look in that room and you go, look at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be a cool thing, you know, make
Conversation pieces.
For
Yes.
sure.
Yeah. And by the way, so 2 things. One, you said you got sunburn and your hat is hanging up so you can't use it. So figure that out.
I brought mine with me.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you now have 2 helmets, and I don't think I've seen a picture of you channeling your inner Richard Guido of actually wearing the helmet doing other things. So I think that needs to change.
No, I got to go find the first one.
You don't know where the first one is?
I mean, this is.
Did Jordan steal it?
No, it's here. This not being boastful. We've won a lot of races over the years, like a lot. Mm-hmm. I got piles of trophies and stuff, and those helmets mean a lot more to me than any of them other trophies. But honestly, I haven't really. Anthony, that's Anthony Harper. That dude is the shit. He won our 235 class.
Yeah, well, Mark Manor wears his around like he's a pimp, dude.
Yeah. We gave out these huge gold chains, and them dudes wear them all the time. Like he's posting up pictures. He's like at a concert with this like huge gold chain on. Like, this dude's awesome.
Mitchell, I'll have to send you this later. Mark Manor, who ironically is from Florida, actually he won at Devin's race in April, and he has like pictures of him like with the chain hanging on his side view mirror off his shell, wearing it around the house. I mean, just, you know.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, the plaques that are on the wall behind me, the first few years that I raced, there was no money. You basically ran for a trophy. And maybe it's just me, but with how competitive racing has gotten in recent years, I've never become unappreciative of winning a trophy because it means something. Because like you said, the money spends.
Yep.
But yes, I would agree that a plastic trophy compared to something like what I've got hanging behind me, or in the case of my most recent win, I got one of those big checks that you can actually hang on a wall. Yep. I've raced for 30 years and never gotten one of those. And that is something that I wanted at some point. So
you never got one?
No, I had never won one.
Oh, I got a bunch of them things.
Of course you do.
Well, I love them. I think they're cool as shit, right? Like I love the big checks. We give them out at our event. We give out.
Yeah, I know. Mark. I've seen Mark Manor's deal where he has the crown, the chain, and the check.
Oh yeah. We give out all the we try to give out all cool stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll say this: the people that come in and they see this stuff hanging up on the wall, it's always, what's that? What is this?
Right.
There's a something I was taught a long time ago, and it's about payouts and whatnot in racing. But do you know how to become a millionaire in drag racing?
Start with $2
million. $2 million.
You got to start with $1 billion.
Yeah.
Oh.
You got to start with $1 billion. You got to start with $1 billion because the only way you can become a millionaire is if you lose enough money to come down. You know what I mean?
I think Stevie Fast said this. People ask how much does drag racing cost? It costs as much as you have.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
It costs it all. Bill Lincoln's jumping in here. I know he spent the entire week with us. Thanks for commenting, man. I know he did a bunch with us during the week during summer, so it's good to hear from him. I don't think anybody misses hearing me. Trust me. I talked enough.
And I tell you, talking about getting trophies and plaques like that, you get money, you spend it, and you have nothing to show for it. But you get a trophy or a plaque, you always have them.
Right. I mean, you can't bring.
I got them back there.
Right. And it brings you back. It brings you back to a time when you were like, "Man, that was awesome." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Or like you said, it becomes a conversation piece. It's what gets people into it, and that's like I've said this a billion times, and I don't know why, but I think maybe it's starting to resonate during Six Summer because I actually had people come to the tower and tell me stories. That's what I think is going to bring drag racing to the next level is make it approachable, make it where, oh, that's a really nice Falcon that guy's raced. Like, for example, guy came up to the tower and he goes, that's my first car. I bought it in 1987 when I was 16 years old. I'm like, if somebody hears that, that could tell them, hey, it doesn't matter how fast or slow my stuff is. Right. I could get out there and do that.
Yep.
Right.
So,
and things that help make that happen is like, flow racing right now, making a lot of strides with PDRA and live streaming other races. I try to live stream all the races I can at Gainesville, the bracket series, Derek's 352 shootout that he puts on, and a couple other things. And there's technology I think has helped out a lot of getting people interested. They're watching it and they're seeing the cars that's running 14 and 15 seconds in the bracket race. And I go, oh, shoot, I'll just go out there one week and have some fun. I'll grab the old Nissan out there, or I'll grab my old Ford pickup and head over to Gainesville and pay the entry fee and go have some fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, locally, we've got a big influx of people going no prep racing, right? And a lot of it happens out on the street, right? And I'm always against it because you just bring it to a racetrack, keep it open. That's how you keep the racetrack open, is to go there, right? But the more people that go there, the better chance it has of surviving and not being sold off to a land developer. So I'll do anything and everything I can to try to always drive anybody to go to a racetrack, and just, even if, like, I had to go to my doctor this morning and get blood work and whatnot, and the nurse in there, she don't know shit about racing or anything, you know what I mean? But she always talks to me. She's super nice, and she's like, you got a sunburn. I said, yeah. She goes, you were off racing, weren't you? I said, yeah. And she's like, well, did you take any pictures? I was like, yeah. She's like, well, show me. And she didn't know, she knows what drag racing is, but she didn't know what this is, And I started showing her, and she's like, what's that on the back of your car? I'm like, it's a trailer. She's like, what? I said, yeah. She goes, you ain't got a truck? And I'm like, I have a truck too, but like, no, it's a little trailer. And she's like, what are you doing with that? I was like, being an idiot. And she's like, would you just like take that picture for fun? I'm like, no. I said, unfortunately not. I said, we just drove a couple hundred miles with this thing on the back. And she's like, what? She had no idea. She's like, man, she's like, I got to look into this. So I gave her the Sick the Mag website, and then told her to go on Facebook and, just start digging around and, search for this. And she legit wrote it down on a pen and paper, like, Sick the Mag. She wrote it down, and then drag and drive. She's like, I'm going to check it out. So I got to go back and talk to her like next week, and I'm going to follow up and be like, hey, report back. What'd you find? You know what I mean? So if, maybe she can get her and her kids out to a racetrack, and even if it's just to watch some local thing, it's more people at racetracks. So,
Well, Derek, you might know the person who I'm talking about, but we have someone that races at Gainesville in a sportsman class. And since he has done Sick Week, he still continues to bring his trailer on the back of his Firebird. I think it's a Firebird or a Camaro.
I think it's Camaro, actually.
Yeah, Camaro.
Yeah.
And changes the slicks and everything right there at the track, and changes them out, put the trailer back on the car, and drives it home.
Yeah, every time I go out and test the Nova, it's 30 minutes with traffic to the Bradenton track, and I always pull the trailer out there, drive the car out, drive it back, and that's pretty cool.
The interesting thing is that, number one, I think it makes it where it becomes a conversation piece. It makes it easier for people to talk to you.
Yep.
And I'm my own worst critic because I went from driving the car everywhere because I didn't know anything to eventually having an open trailer. And then 10 years ago, I bought my first enclosed. And I hate to say this, but it does happen. There, unfortunately, are thefts. You have to worry about weather and so forth. And so the enclosed does bring some good part to all that. But the flip side is I, like you said, Devin, earlier, when you drive a car or when you tow a car on an open trailer, people know what it is. You're going to see the thumbs up stuff when you're on the road and all that. You're towing it in an enclosed. No one has any idea what's in there.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Having the cars out on the road is huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it makes like we were driving down the road. I don't remember what state, right? One of these terrible roads. We were on the road, and we got passed by like a plumbing truck. I think it was like a plumbing truck, right? And it's a 1-lane road. You know what I mean? So, or like 2-lane road, but like it's like a passing zone. You know? So he goes around us, and he gets out, and he's in front of us, and then we come into like this little town, right? And he got in front of us, but he didn't just take off, you know. He kind of like got in front of us and then left some distance and then just kind of cruised with us. I was like, well, what was that about? And we got into town and like he was off on the right hand, like he had to make a right turn and he sat there at the light waiting on us. We pulled up and he's like hanging his thumb out the window, like, dude, this thing's awesome. And I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna say? What? I can hear shit. What? Yell. You know what I mean? And he's like, thumbs up, thumbs up. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I don't know what you just said. You know what I mean? And but that like made that plumber dude's day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just seeing like a hot rod driving down the road, you know, like an hour prior, he's like plunging a toilet, hating his life. And he hops in the freaking van and he's like, check that out. That's pretty sweet. You know what I mean? So it's awesome to have the cars out on the road. Like having them out on the road makes they go home, they have a story and they go, I don't know why they're in town.
Right.
I don't know why there was all these cars in town.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they look and they go, oh, look at this. Well, shit, we should go to that, you know?
Yeah.
We should
Well,
go.
I know during sick week, you know, when everyone was coming back from South Georgia, going through the little town of Graham to go the back way out to Gainesville, which you had to go past the track. And of course, Sonny's was one of the checkpoints.
Yep.
But I had people burning up my telephone. Hey, when are the cars going to start coming through? We're sitting on the side of the road to wait on them. I mean, several people. Hey, when do you think they're going to make it to 225? We're going to sit out here and watch the cars. I mean, just people who don't even watch drag racing was calling and wanting hints of when they can come out and see the cars go by.
We've seen people sitting in their classic cars or whatever parked on the side of the road up there on 6th Summer, and they give you the thumbs up when you drive by. It was cool for sure.
So that's something I want to ask about because, like I mentioned, with me announcing and not being able to leave towards the end of the day at every one, I got told varying reports about how sick week was with people on the side of the road. And it bears to mention that sick was one of the first ones to do it where they put the routes out there ahead of time. There are certain places that also do it as well, but they would always worry like, okay, are people going to cheat because they know the routes? You know, you mysteriously brake and pull over to the side and there's somebody there, you know, that kind of thing, I guess is what you were looking at. What did you guys think since you've done them both? Do you think there were more people on the side of the road and or, you know, along the routes on Sick Summer or on Sick Week?
Oh, for sure. For sure, 6th Summer. Yeah.
For sure. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a theory
that's the
on
feeling
it.
I got. I just wasn't sure if it was just me.
Oh, yeah.
I have a theory on it, right?
Sure.
So, Florida, Southeast, we get to race all the time. There's hot rods always driving around, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we're spoiled. Like I'm in South Carolina. We're spoiled. We get to go racing whenever the heck we want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Midwest, they don't really get to do that often. So when it does come to town, they're like, heck yeah. You know what I mean? It's like the county fair. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I'm almost positive that nobody in the state of Wisconsin worked on Wednesday.
Why was the
how Great
turnout?
Lakes looked? Yeah.
Why was the turnout so much better there than anywhere else?
I don't think they work. I'm telling you, I don't think they work.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Coming down the return road, and everybody's just like going crazy. That was awesome.
I was standing on the starting line talking to Tom at 9:15 in the morning. And I said, one of us said, like, look at the stands.
Yeah.
And we were looking and I said, holy crap, they are jam-packed and it's 9:00 in the morning on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
in Wisconsin. Like, what happened here? He's like, it's always like this here. It
Yeah.
blew my mind. And then they driving down the road and having the people on the side of the road just hanging out was amazing. So
Yeah. I mean, like seeing people at corners. I saw a whole family sitting on the tailgate of a pickup truck just giving thumbs up as people
Oh,
went
yeah.
by.
There was a small shop. They had their parking lot spraying water down in the parking lot. telling
Yeah,
everybody
I
to
saw
pull
that.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
do a
guys.
burnout,
There was a guy down the street from Motion Wakesverse had a sign "Do a burnout." Yeah, when we got to, I want to say it was day 2 that we rained out at Byron, so we ended up at the first checkpoint, the auto museum early. I know when I rolled in there was only one set of burnout marks, but when we left, it looked a lot different after that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I'm not a trailer burnout guy. You'll never catch me doing it.
Yeah, the fan interaction was, in my opinion, just, and again, I've only done 3 of them, was insane at Six Summer. And again, maybe it's just like you said, maybe it's because there's not as much of it, maybe it's not as often. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the drives that we took compared to Florida, which is, where I'm from, there's a whole lot less population, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I mean,
maybe there's not a lot going on, and they.
Yeah, Bill, I would agree. Byron would have been a lot better. I mean, like Byron still had a ton of people for a Tuesday morning. I mean, the whole left side of the grandstands were packed, and that's a place that jams them in there for the wheel standing championships.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the forecast that we had leading into it that looked great, all of a sudden on Tuesday just went the wrong way, and unfortunately, we just didn't get anything out of it. I mean, I know some people, like you said, unfortunately, some people never even made a pass down Byron. So
yeah.
Well, Derek, you know what would be really cool is have a drag week set up where you would go into one of the NHRA events, say New England, where there's not a whole lot of classes.
Right.
And while they have some downtime, bring in the drag week cars to make 1 or 2 hits and leave out, and see if that would actually bring more people to watch, a race at New England than what normally does. Because we do have some national events in NHRA that doesn't quite get as many people as others. And wonder if something like that would help draw attentions to an NHRA event. I know you do have to worry about schedules, in there as well.
Yeah. So I want to toss it to Devin and Jimmy here in just a second. But the first thing I would say is from a guy who's worked as a worker on a race or an event for over 15 years plus my own, the scheduling thing becomes very difficult. This is the whole reason that I've always said drag racing is great, but it's never a great thing to watch live on television because it's never going to go according to plan. You can't say we're going to bring cars in here at 3:00. You could be dead on time, or you could be 2 hours back because of delays of, blow-ups or whatever. So just from my perspective, the drag and drive impact when they ran the 8-car shootout at Joliet last month was pretty big. I mean, like if you saw the crowds around them when they were in the lanes, it looked pretty good. Now, granted, they didn't do the cruise, quote unquote, but they did drive the streets of Joliet the day before. So there was a lot of people that had hard time believing Tom Bailey's car, Brian Goldstone's car, Clark Rosenstengel's car, Steve Morris's wagon, all these cars that run 6s and 7s are out there driving the streets of Joliet. Now, granted, again, it's not a drag and drive per the definition. To do it during a national event would be hard. I think it would be great, but the issue that I always see with a national event is where do you slot that? What gets bumped that has been a religious part of a national event where those people now feel slighted because you're trying to put something else in there?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it would have to be at something that another track that would not have as many classes, say like New England Nationals, that there's no pro stock, there's no pro stock motorcycle. It's very limited to classes. It'd have to be something to that nature. Say, for instance, if they did something Midwest, Topeka, Kansas, if they did something like that there. But, just a thought, if something like that could come along and they could schedule it in with that race week, I think it'll be
Right.
pretty neat, and it'll draw more people to the track.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, I know both of you have experience with it. Devin and Jimmy, I know you guys both have experience with drag and drive stuff. The issue that I see with trying to put something in, especially if it was like a 1-day deal where you didn't automatically start it, would be, James mentions do it the day before.
Yeah,
That's
a good
kind of what
idea.
King of the Open Road is doing. They're doing their drive stuff with like a car show and involving towns near where they're going the day before they go to the racetrack. Do you consider that to be kind of along the same lines as what you just did, obviously just with less days? Or is it really not proving the car and the driver as much as you would be if you were doing an entire week-long series?
I mean, I don't think it cheapens it like that much, but like it's not the same thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know when you piggyback it with something else. I think it turns it into something that like makes it less desirable for somebody to travel far away from to come do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to want to travel 15 hours to go do it if you're piggybacking with something else, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Jimmy, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it would be. I don't know how it would work with you've got 200 plus cars showing up on an event where there's already a lot going on.
Right. Does it cheapen it? Doesn't still have the same message?
Yeah, because it would. I guess it would. It would take away from the drag and drive stuff.
Yeah, I have to wonder if the reason drag and drive is successful the way they are is because it is the attraction. There isn't something else that needs to be added to it. It can stand by itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like the fact that we're driving the cars and how fast guys are going and still getting in them and driving them down the road. I think it's relatable to the average guy that what we're doing, whereas the NHRA stuff is kind of Top Fuel and all that is a whole other level.
I have a different outlook on NHRA, but I don't want to say it.
Okay.
I just want to be nice.
Well,
I mean, you could always do it with another sanctioned body such as
you can do it with WDRA, you could do it with IHRA.
Well, it's not even just NHRA. I just think that I don't understand why I got to pay to be part of their group. And if I don't pay to be part of their group, I can't do certain things at a racetrack that does not require it anyway. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm going to start getting mad about it.
Yeah,
I get where you're coming from. I understand where you're going with that statement. It's not something that I think could definitely be. I don't think it's something that could be answered within, say, 5 minutes. You're right. That's a whole topic of discussion. But I've gotten that both ways, and it kind of almost goes into the same thing as why some people care more about safety equipment than other places do. I'm not going to specify beyond that, but I'm just going to say that, I see enough of it to where it's like, okay.
Right.
So,
yeah, what can you do?
Mitch, I keep walking on top of you, so I'm sure you got questions. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. It was just, something I thought about, just sitting here that, would it be possible? But yeah, I mean, the whole NHRA thing is, it would just be too much. You would have to go with another sanctioned body where there's
just too many. There's too many chiefs and not enough Indians in the NHRA.
I can agree with that. I understand why there's, here's the only thing I'll say about it, and then I'll leave it. I mean, Devin, when I say this, though, I mean, I'm not going to dig into it beyond that, but feel free to fire back at me if you want. I don't know why. I mean, I get it, I guess. I shouldn't say I don't know why. It seems like the NHRA catches more hate than a lot of other places do. My fire back to that is find me another sanctioning body that allows somebody who is running a 10, 11, and 12-second car on the same racetrack as a 3 and 4 second Top Fueler and funny car on the same weekend in front of the same crowd. It doesn't exist. You can't play Major League Baseball on the exact same weekend as Little League or 5-year-olds, and you can't play, touch football on the same weekend as the NFL. NHRA drag racing is the only thing where at a national event you can see all of it. Now, with that being said, yes, people don't show up or spectators don't show up to watch the little people.
Right.
And I understand that. The problem is similar to what you said earlier about bracket racing. There's an ask for every seat, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to like it.
Right.
So,
Right. So my gripe is like what Anthony Harville just said, like we do it in the Carolinas. I guess it's because I've got a long history of racing at outlaw tracks that don't give a crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we go, like there's a safety tech, you know what I mean? But you don't need a license. And there's guys that are driving cars that go 3s in the 8th that could hop into an NHRA Pro Mod and do a fantastic job. In fact, you see it. There's a lot of guys that are starting to transition over into the NHRA. Yes, the NHRA is the big leagues. It is. I'm not taking that away. It's for sure the big leagues, right? Like I get it. I just don't like how it trickles down to the small time and how it kind of, in a way, it gets everybody thinking that they have to do things the NHRA's way or no way. And that's the part where I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Also, my biggest gripe with NHRA is they base their chassis certifications, like their rules for chassis certification, and SFI, it's stupid, off of ET. So, like, I got.
I know where you're going with this. Why not speed, right?
Yeah, but not speed and weight, right? It makes no sense. So, when the Rowdy Radio class was coming up for Sick Week in Florida, right? I got some friends that have 850 cages in the car. And they were like, and the rule was like, hey, you can't go faster than 850 in the quarter. I don't care how fast you go in the 8th. You just can't go faster than 850 in the quarter. Okay, fair enough. So and I had this argument with my NHRA tech guy who comes here to my shop and certifies cars for me, right? And I said, so 850 is the limit for this cage. Yeah. I said, okay, what if the light drops, I roll the beams by 6 inches, sit there for 2 seconds, let go of the button, go 850 at 220 mile an hour.
Right.
Well, why would you do that? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter why I would do it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Doesn't
Exactly.
matter. I roll the beams. I sit there for 2 seconds. I wait, let go of the button, goes 850. It was really a 650 pass.
Mm-hmm.
It just went 850 at 220 mile an hour. Is that legal?
Right.
Well, yeah, it would be. I'm like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
And this is why I have a different view on the safety. I'm very big on the safety thing. You know what I mean? I'm very, safety is paramount to me. You'll be hard pressed to find somebody who's willing to spend money on safety like I am. Hell, I got a $2,500 helmet. And I barely ever drive the damn car anymore. You know what I mean? So
right.
I'm big
like you said, it's required because of how fast you go.
Right. Always. I mean, I'll go beyond requirements for safety. For me, I will, but a lot of people won't. Belts expiring. That's usually the one where NHRA and everybody catches a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Is the belts expiring?
Okay. Can I jump on that one for a minute?
Sure, of course. Absolutely.
Okay. In my opinion, and in my opinion only, if you're going to bitch about $50 to $100 every 2 years, you need to find a new hobby.
Oh,
and here's the only reason I say that. When I drive my car on the road, I use all 5 points. I don't just put on the lap part of it.
Right.
I wear all 5 points.
Yep.
At the end of 2 years, from loosening and tightening the shoulder parts, they were frayed pretty good. And for me, I'd much rather not worry about my safety than gripe about, like I said, $50 to $100 to send belts back and get them recertified. The reason I also say that is because I've worked tech at certain events. I have seen belts that came in that look brand new, and I look at the SFI date, and it's from like the 90s. And I'm talking about the last 5 years.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, this could, for lack of a better comparison, this could be a Dale Earnhardt situation. Do I really feel comfortable signing my name on something knowing that if that guy a guy or girl gets into a crash and something happens, that I could have prevented that?
Oh, I get it. I'm not bitching about the belts. I'm saying that's where NHRA catches a lot of flack.
Right.
I'll throw away. I am so good at wasting money. It's unreal. All right. I mean, I'm telling you, my employee and my fiance, they say it all the time that like I'll buy a whole bunch of shit I don't need. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good at buying stuff I don't need, and I buy a lot of it. Try again. The $100 or whatever, I don't mind it, but I think that's where a lot of people get pissed because, like, well, man, these belts have been sitting on the shelf. Well, you're kind of an idiot. You should have bought the belts, a month before you were going to go out racing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the way you're supposed to do it. But, well, I needed them for mock-up. No, you didn't. You know what I mean? Like,
some dude with a dune buggy could have given you his for a month.
Right. And to me, like, what I do is, like, I buy one set every year, right? So I'll take the new ones, put them in the driver's seat, take the used ones, put them in the passenger seat, and just keep recycling them out. It's not a big deal for me. I know locally, most of the flack that the NHRA catches is from their, like, honestly, who keeps, like, all the SFI stickers for, like, their bell housing and, like, their flex plate? Like, who does it?
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? I had a guy at an NHRA, we went to an NHRA track, and the guy was like, hey, I need to see all your SFI stickers. And I was like, what?
Right.
Yeah, I said, dude, crawl around on the car. And I walked off. He's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to take a leak. I'll be back in an hour when you find all this. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, dude, I said, look at a car. You know what I mean? Like, just look at the car. You could tell if somebody put together something that's going to put their life in danger overall.
Exactly.
I mean,
That's the same thing the guy told me when he certified the cage in the car. He's like, I can just tell by looking at this, it's going to be an easy pass.
Right.
Well, one of the things you're talking about NHRA rules. One of the things I don't like is that if you run 13.99 or quicker, you got to wear a helmet. Well, I think if you're on the track,
1/100th of a second,
everybody should be wearing a helmet, because if I'm going down the track, say at 12 flat, Joe over here is running at 19 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I get down there and lose control and I hit him. He should be wearing a helmet.
Right.
Because he's going to bang his head off the windshield, the steering wheel, and everything else, even with a belt on.
Yeah. I think that my biggest gripe with the NHRA is really it's just that 850 cage. I don't even care about the other higher certs like the 25.5, 25.3, 25.2, because at that point you're putting a bunch of bars in the car anyway. Just follow the rules. Follow the rules they want and whatever. You know what I mean? But that 850 cage is really my biggest gripe. It's like, man, you tell me I can go 850 flat, but if I go 849, it just became unsafe.
Yep. I can't disagree with you on that. And I mean, no disrespect to your car at all. I don't want to put a funny car cage in my car.
Well, I
want to have swing outs in mine.
That's what I'm getting at, is because there's a lot of people out there. That's my biggest gripe. I have a really good friend who's got a beautiful Fox body with a very, very, very nice 850 chassis in the car. Now it's got a floor structure that's 25.2, 25.3, I mean.
Right, so it has all the bars underneath it. Yep.
Right. And it's got a whole bunch of bars in the trunk. It just does not have a funny car cage, so it's considered an 850 cage. He doesn't want to put a funny car cage in the car because he drives the car on the street a lot.
Right.
And it makes sense. If you don't have a head containment seat, it's like that's the other thing. Like if you're going to force people to put a 25.5 or 25.3 in a car, you should also make them have a head containment seat. Like that should also be a rule, I think.
Right.
Because if you're sitting at a red light and you get bumped hard enough from the side, you banging your head off of that bar could kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
there's unfortunately been people that have been documented that have gotten killed that way, where they're driving cars with funny car cages, and like you said, someone hits them from the side. And
sure.
Your
Now they're dead. Right. Now they're dead because they just went 849, and they needed that funny car cage to make the NHRA happy. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's a little goofy for me. So
no, I agree. I mean, I won't agree with every rule they have. I will say that I do know from my lifetime, not personally, but I think there's enough rules that unfortunately have been written in blood by something happening where they had to make a change.
Oh yeah.
Like if you look, for example, you bring up the whole 750 thing. If you look at what pro stocks were running back in the 80s and what they were wearing to run that versus now, it's like, yeah, there's a big difference there, but I'm sure that they also probably looked at it and went, okay, this is really risky. And let's be honest, part of the reason that the NHRA does have the pull that they do is that they have the ability to help tracks get insurance, which is
Right.
what's going to keep
Right.
you there. So,
Right.
So that's all important.
Yeah.
And Devin, let's be honest. If you've run outlaw stuff, you've seen people in outlaw cars that are wearing like shorts or pajama pants and,
it's insane.
an open face helmet that you're going to run that down the racetrack? No, I don't think so.
Dude, it's absolutely insane. Like, that's why I won't go no prep racing. Right?
Yeah.
Because like those dudes are retarded. Like, I'm not saying like the guys that are really, I'm talking about like the
right,
guys,
right. No, I get it.
Everybody knows exactly who I'm talking about, right? Dirt or no prep racing is dirt track of drag racing. Right? That's what it is. It's dirt track racing. It's those dudes are there to fight and drink beer, and maybe a race will happen. You know what I mean? Maybe a race will break out in the middle of their fight when they're drinking beer.
After 3 hours of negotiation and how much money and where you're starting. Yeah,
the no prep stuff, they're wild. I won't go no prep racing, not because I'm afraid of wrecking the car, but because I'm afraid of the guy next to me wrecking his car into me.
Right.
So it's wild. And somebody brought up a long time ago about, man, we should do a no prep dragon drive event. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea. I like thinking about going the other way. Like, let's make this like a full radial prep dragon drive event where
there we go.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want. You know, I want a fly paper racetrack every day.
Exactly.
Okay, so you bring up Mitch, if you're okay with it, I want to ask this question because
go ahead.
Okay, so Devin, if I'm not mistaken, your race pays out to the winners.
Yeah.
Okay. So
there's a reason, but keep going.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna pick on that. I mean, I'm just, part of me is thinking this through. So, and again, feel free to say whatever you want on this. So I look at certain things where if you're hosting it at an event where you know that you've brought in, like, let's just say, unless you're lucky enough, like Jimmy, like, let's be honest, like, unless you go to some place like Bradenton where you know it's always going to be good because Wade's running it.
Right.
It's similar to what we talked about with the fuel situation earlier. When you jump between racetracks, the inconsistency factor becomes a possibility. And Thomas said from day one that he wanted to have consistent prep done by the same people at every racetrack. Now again, during sick week, when you look at Orlando, when you look at Bradenton, not really a problem. Gainesville has a stigma. I'm not going to argue that. I do know that Corey has tried to get it around, and I think Mitchell will back me up that we've gotten better.
Definitely.
But no, we don't have Wade Rich here. Nobody is what Wade Rich does.
Let me jump in quick. I thought Gainesville was probably the second best track we had all week.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I can go to a local Thursday night test and tune in Bradenton where there's hard tire cars out there and the car will go down every time, or my truck will go down.
But again, like
crazy.
I said, that's what Wade Rich does.
Yeah,
he's worked
it's crazy.
You know, he's worked at Bradenton, he's worked at Orlando, he's worked at South Georgia, he's worked at Memphis. There's a reason he can work wherever he wants, is because he's good at what he does.
Right.
For sure.
So, but with that being said, again, there have been years where I've watched Hot Rod Drag Week where you go to one racetrack and it's great, and then the next four suck, and it's
I've seen that.
And so their averages are all over the place.
Right.
So I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. There are people that say that part of the reason that they pick certain races because some drag and drives do pay out money, some don't. Tom has always said, again, it's for the fun of it. It's for the original intention of it, but he's going to spend the money on track prep, and track prep costs money to have it done.
Yep.
I would personally rather have 4 consistent racetracks and forego the chance of winning any money to offset my expenses, which, let's be honest, to do a drag and drive are not cheap.
Right.
Versus a possible purse. What would you gentlemen say?
I agree. How much did he spend on ice cream sandwiches? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, hot dogs and ice cream sandwiches. Yeah.
So I agree 100%. Like sick week, sick summer, sick the mag. It's a machine. I said this in Florida earlier this year.
Right.
Tom has built a machine that is amazing. Right. From the organization, the amount of people that are volunteered, plus the amount of people that are paid. The amount of effort that goes into that and how smoothly it runs, the giving out the hot dogs and ice cream sandwiches and making sure everybody feels as if, like, there was one day, I don't remember, we were in Florida somewhere, but it was one day where I was like, man, I like, somebody said, like, man, you look like you're really thirsty. And like, they just came over, like, come here. come over here. You need some water or something. And I was like, all right. And they're like, just come back here whenever you need water or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. Just the hospitality of it, that costs money, right? That costs money.
Right.
And I 100% agree that Tom is doing the right thing with sick week by not having a payout and by giving back to the racers and by paying for track prep people. You know what I mean? The reason we have a payout, and this is if you are thinking about going into business, listen to what I say and do not do what I'm about to say. The reason we have a payout is all the racetracks we go to are absolutely phenomenal for radials. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. When I say that, like if you've ever been to Orangeburg, if you ever go to Orangeburg or South Carolina Motorplex, it'll change your life. You race at Bradenton all the time. You can go to Bradenton with a tune-up. You can take a tune-up that you know is going to spin at Bradenton and put it in at Orangeburg, and it'll go straight down Broadway. Orangeburg will change your life. It is unreal how tight that racetrack is. It's unreal. So our Shady Side, our really good radial prepped racetrack that we start off with. Is it as good as Bradenton? Probably not, but it's pretty damn good, and especially in the fall, it's pretty damn good. Then we go to Darlington. Jeff Miles does a killer job of prepping the racetrack for radials, especially when he knows we're coming. Then we go to Carolina.
Jimmy does. Jimmy and his crew do a great job.
They do a fantastic job. The house
and Jerry do a great job. Yeah.
Yep. So here's the reason why we have a payout, right? The goal for our event was to make no money. Right? That's it.
Okay.
That's it. We didn't want to make any money. We just wanted to do something cool because where we're at is a really weird thing. You've got a ton of racetracks. You have a ton of race cars and street cars. Every single one of them. A fantastic place, right? And yeah, Anthony learned, right? I literally spent the week running around telling everybody to put more air in their tires and hit it with more power. Like the whole day when we were at Orangeburg, I'm like, you need to hit it harder, like a lot harder, you know? But our goal was I wanted something cool to still exist in the Southeast. So that's all we did it for. And it's a really bad business model because they don't make any money. So
yeah,
it'll sustain itself for a little while. But that was the goal. The goal was like we do it and do it for like maybe a year or 2 years and see if it picks up and takes off. And if it's a really cool thing and everybody's really happy with it, then cool. And it also gives the opportunity like to get more racers to come because there's a lot of racers out there that don't like quarter mile. I know that everybody who lives near a quarter mile racetrack doesn't believe that. The reality of it is that there's a lot of people out there that just don't like quarter mile because they feel as if 8th mile the race is over. You know what I mean? And they don't want to beat their crap out of their stuff, you know, for an extra 8th of a mile. So it opens up the opportunity to do something a little bit different and bring out some people to racetracks that they've never been to, maybe because they're all like small outlaw tracks. Not all of them are small. You know, Darlington's a big place, and
right?
Whatnot. But Carolina, in the grand scheme of things, is a small outlaw track. You know, even though they're going to be a stop for drag week this year. But it's our goal was to let's just try to do something cool and give back as much as we can. So when we first came up with the payout idea, I literally was just dumb. I was like, well, we're charging X amount of dollars per person, and we got sponsors to give us a whole bunch of cool stuff to give away. It shouldn't cost us more than a couple bucks to make this work, right? So let's just give them back all their money. And that was the mentality. And we lost a couple bucks, but it's all right. You know what I mean? I was like, we'll do it again. And we'll just try to do it better. And, you know, so again, terrible business model. But that's the only reason we have payouts is because we said we don't want to make any, we didn't want to make any money off of it. We just want to keep it out. That's the only reason we have payouts. You know what I mean? So, and we do it different though. So like our entry fee is a little bit lower, but then you pay at the gate. So our entry fee is lower, but like as you're pulling in the gate, you pay for you and your co-pilot at the gate.
Okay.
So I didn't have to handle anybody's money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like to do track rentals and stuff. I just worked it out with the tracks to like take the gate money and we'll bring in as many cars as we can and as many spectators as we can, and you just keep all the gate money. So we had a different view. We had a different way of going about it because like honestly, I just figured it was going to like flop. And I just didn't want to be holding on to anybody's money. So that's what we came up with.
So instead of it flopping, you decided to make it twice a year and have double the amount of work.
Yeah. It was really terrible business model. Make no money and do it twice a year. So
yeah.
So, but no, I honestly,
like I said,
we have our event. I'm obviously a little bit biased because we have our own event, but I really look forward to the Sick Week and Sick Summer. Like I'm amped about February. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the one I'm really looking forward to. So I think he showed his. Oh, there he is.
Well, I tell you, I definitely want to participate in one.
Yeah.
Next February, usually, I want to say registration normally opens in, you guys could probably comment on it better than me. I want to say October normally is when it opens.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just know you better be on the computer if you want to get in.
It fills up fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but get on the wait. But again, get on the wait list even if you don't get in, because I'd say about 2 to 4 weeks normally before the event, people start realizing I'm not going to get the parts in time, or my car's not going to get put together in time, and that's what happened both times. Is we took a bunch of people off the wait list for both events.
Yeah, the one in the first Sick Week in last year, I didn't get in, but it was my local home track, so I'm like, I'm going to go and show up and just try to get in, and was fortunate enough to, after sitting in the tech line all day waiting for the last car to go through. They said, "All right, come on."
That is and it's funny you bring that up, because that's one of the things that Hot Rod Drag Week does.
Right.
They never turn anybody away.
Right.
They've never run out of spots. But when I know that was one of the things that I overheard several times throughout the week was, well, we have to sit there and wait forever. So Tom made it to where, okay, well, you're going to make some people mad if you do it this way, but if you streamline tech, you can't take day of entries because you know who's showing up, and you don't make everybody wait. If you get it done in 5 to 6 hours, then everybody feels like they've got the rest of the day rather than sitting in tech line all day long waiting.
Right.
So,
yeah, paying for the VIP tech was worth it 100%. I mean, I showed up, 10 o'clock on Sunday in the morning and walked over there, and the guy's like, well, just come now. We just come right through in 15 minutes. We were through tech and changing tires and getting ready.
Devin, did you do regular tech or did you do VIP tech?
I'm not doing that peasant tech after the first year.
You got spoiled on it too?
Yeah.
Oh, both of them. Yeah. Oh, I was locked in on that 9 to 10 spot, both of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I got the text message and I was like, "What? It's only $100?
Exactly.
I'll buy 2 spots for this shit."
Yeah, and it goes to a good cause too.
Right. Exactly. I was like, "Should I just buy 2 of them?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I'll buy 2 of these things. I don't give a crap. I'll give them $200. I don't have to sit in that line.
Yeah.
If I don't have to sit, I will pay an unbelievable amount of money for convenience, right? Like we all do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my fiance will order food even though she knows how to cook. But like we finally got DoorDash back here. You know what I mean? Like where we live, and like she's a good cook, but she's like literally just like, "Oh, I'm ordering this, but I'll order that." Like she'll order lunch, she'll order dinner, just because it's convenient because we work all the time. When I heard $100, I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
$500 for this. Like I shouldn't say it out loud because now I'm going to get a freaking text message that says, "Hey, you're getting VIP tech next year, but you're going to have to pay $500."
All right.
Luckily, Tom hasn't messaged me yet, so I'm
right. Oh yeah, no, I'm telling you that VIP tech is awesome. That is awesome.
Definitely.
You know, and it goes to a good cause. You know,
right?
I mean, it goes to a great cause. I honestly, every single thing y'all have come up with has been fantastic. Like everything is like worked out really, really good. You know.
I think you can almost look at it the same way as your event. Don't get me wrong, there are people that can make events work great, but I think racers bring a different dynamic to things where you see and hear and experience and you go, I'm going to fix that, or I'm going to make that better, or I'm going to streamline this because I've been in your position where I've sat there and waited or can't figure this out.
Right.
And I agree. You know, you got promoters and you got racers that are promoters, and I'd rather go to something that a racer's putting on than a promoter that's never done the sport at all.
Right. Well, how much fun was Tom having this week, not competing and just being there to run the event? I mean, he was having a great time.
Yeah.
I was jealous.
You know, The bad thing is that I just stayed away from that question on the live stream of why isn't Tom run yet or where's the Camaro or whatever. And I'm like, he's just out there having a good time. I'm not going to spoil that. I'm not going to bring that up.
Exactly.
I couldn't. So like we do our own event, and we took my car to our event, but like we just like left it in the trailer and like made hits when we could. You know what I mean? To test for this, right? And it was a huge nightmare to test, like just make 1 or 2 test hits and then like load it in the trailer and go to the next racetrack because we didn't drive it and all that stuff. I don't know if I would ever want to run my own car, my own competition because it's like such a nightmare, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think you could wipe the smile off his face about driving around in that little truck.
Exactly.
I think he just had fun blowing the damn train horns everywhere.
Yeah, oh, he for sure did. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, my personal deal, I have run my own event for 7 years, and I tried to bring my car out to it. I had a bunch of people talk smack about me getting into a match race with a guy. And so I was like, okay, fine. Brought the car out there, unloaded it out of the trailer because we needed to use the trailer to sell event T-shirts out of. It sat next to that trailer, and it never moved the entire day because I never got around to it because me being a little OCD, I would much rather be somewhere where I can watching everything going on. So if something goes wrong, we can fix it and make it better than worrying about my own deal. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard. Trying to race and put the vent on at the same time.
Is that Laura waving at us in the background?
Yeah, she's running the refrigerator.
Okay. She waved when she walked back to Heisey.
Yeah, that's Laura.
No.
Yeah, we still got work to
do.
Tonight.
Tell her she needs to make the Vanilla Ice T-shirt though for your car. We have to have that.
Listen, I need Luke to get me a rolling shot. I need a digital file of a rolling shot with the top down. Pulling the trailer.
I will get on that tomorrow morning. I already sent you those 2. Actually, you know what? Actually, those aren't his shots. I'll have to ask him if I can get one from him.
Okay.
I'll see what I can do. I forget who took those 2 shots that I sent her. The one where you've got your arm up like right here on the side of the funny car cage.
Yeah.
I forget who shot that.
I don't recall.
I think that was Luke.
Yeah, those are definitely the one thing though that I want of my car before I die. I want a parachute shot and I want a nice rolling shot that you get on driving drives because it seems like those are the kind.
I haven't gotten any rolling shots either yet.
Well, we need to fix that at Sick Week then.
There you go.
Well, something that Laura surprised me with for Sick Week in Florida was she did like a photography package with Chris Story, and he did like a ton of great pictures and whatnot on the car and like rolling shots and whatnot. And it was worth it. I'm assuming. I don't know. She paid for it. Well, I paid for it, but via her. But overall, it was awesome.
I paid for it. Screw you.
Yeah, but I really paid for it. You know what I mean?
No, I paid for that.
But
Chris is becoming like he's doing everything. I mean, he's doing friggin' Alaska Speed Week this week.
Yeah. But what I was getting at is like if you want to guarantee you get rollers, that's the way to do it.
That's one way to do it. Yeah, because the problem that we have is between all the photographers that are there. Like even at Sick Week, I think we left in like 3 different stages, and I was the last one. Sometimes we'd get lucky enough that we'd roll up on a whole bunch of people. Like at South Georgia, we rolled up on I think probably 7 or 8 cars going down the highway, and Aaron with the Silverback Camaro, the Texas car, he was at the front. So like somebody was in front of us banging stuff off, and then we did it next. So it was one of those deals where sometimes you get lucky and you just leave at the right time and you find a photographer, or like Devin said, if the photographer is going to shoot your car, then he's going to know when you're leaving.
Yep. Yeah, Chris was like up my ass, like, when are you leaving? I was like, man, I don't know, And then I was like, oh, wait, you want to follow me? Now I get it. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Sorry. So, yeah, I mean, it's and that's cool, though, that, like, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know that that there was guys out there that wanted that, like they would go out there and do that. That was kind of cool. That's kind of, again, I think Drag Week's been around for a long time. I think that Rocky Mountain Race Week started the trend of making it more about a good time and not so much corporate world influence. And then Sick Week came along and was like, well, watch this. We're going to do something really cool. And have been continuing to trend that way. You know what I mean? Of like making it better and better and better. So just, keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
it's great that there's a lot of different avenues to be able to do it. And like we've talked about, there's some of them that are very secure in the fact that we're going to use the same racetracks. We might alter what rotation we do them in because of the routes and so forth.
Yeah.
But you know that you can always depend on them to be there. Hot Rod was the one that started it all, and they're the ones that jump around and try different areas. So I guess, they get some kudos for doing that. But obviously the Dragon Drive thing is growing, and based on, the fact, Devin, like I said, well, you do 2 of them.
Yeah. It's really dumb. It's a really bad idea. But it's fun. So it's really not that hard for us though, because like, to be honest, like it's racetracks that I'm at like every week anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So you have a good rapport with them. Yeah.
I have a killer rapport with them. And like, I sent a text message to the one racetrack and I was like, hey, we're going to do this event. Like, what do you think? And he's like, what day? I was like, I don't know. He's like, is it going to be during the week? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, we're in. I'm like, you don't even have any details. He's like, it doesn't matter. We're good. And I was like, okay. I was like, you sure? And they're like, yeah, it's cool. Whatever you want to do. And that's the kind of rapport you have with them. Like, but I go there all the time anyway. So it's just like another day at the racetrack for me. You know what I mean? It's just, I happen to be doing a lot of talking, So.
Thanks. I appreciate you taking my place.
Well, I do a daily drivers meeting, and apparently they're really funny, according to some people. So, because I'm not very politically correct, and I'm not very good at talking to a group, but I'm also not very good at not yelling at people when they don't pay attention, So, so apparently they are rather interesting. So, that's all right though.
So
that's what it is.
So, let's. I have a question that I've been wanting to ask that I just put off that I looked at my notes. So, Jimmy, the question to you is, why are you driving the car instead of Drew, car owner?
Mm-hmm.
And Devin, to you, why is Jordan and Josh driving the car instead of you, the car owner?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I'm just lucky. Like I said, I built the car for Drew. And when we signed up to do this, he's just like, you drive it. And he does all the road miles. So, and he loves that. He don't have his NHRA license. So that's one of the things, obviously. And has no desire to get it. So he'll take it out and test and tune and stuff like that. But when we're going as fast as we are, need the license and all that stuff, that's the main reason, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
But it works out for me. It's great. I mean, it's a great time, and he's a great guy to hang out with, for sure.
Devin, that almost kind of sounds like your deal. It seemed like you were the one that drove between racetracks. But again, the question is, why don't you want to? Is there a reason you don't want to race the car? Because I've heard things, but I want you to answer that.
Sure. So, first off, I think at the level that we're at, right, if you can't understand that you need to delegate in order to be successful, you won't be successful, right? So I've got no problem admitting that I'm not as good of a driver as I am a tuner, right? So if I'm good at tuning cars, right, then I should focus on that, and then the driver can focus on keeping it off of the wall, right? So I've driven my own car. I've been like 440s at like 170 in the 8th. I haven't had any issues. I wrecked the car one time, but it wasn't that bad. But like I've had no problem. So it's not necessarily like I don't know how to drive the car. It's just that I really don't have much of an interest in racing the car anymore, because like the other thing is that in quarter mile, you got a better chance of getting pregnant than convincing me that I should go 220 miles an hour in that car. Right? I just have no interest. Okay. And I'm talking to the male audience about getting pregnant. Like, that's what I'm saying is like, you're not going to convince me to do it. You know what I mean?
Thanks for clarifying.
The ones that started off as men. The ones that started off as men. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I have no interest in going that fast, going 220 mile an hour. I have no interest, right? I also have no interest in going through in order to go get an NHRA license, you have to run them through the quarter, which I don't have an interest in doing. And in order to do that with the license that I would need, I'd have to run it through the quarter at 200 plus, which I don't want to do. So I think that if I stay focused on what I'm supposed to do to get the car to go down the racetrack and work the way it's supposed to and function how it's supposed to, and he can focus on driving the car, then that's what we do. And that's the way we'll do it. You know what I mean? That's the way. If you try to do it all yourself, what was it? Ron Swanson always said, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. Right? So that's the goal. You know what I mean? I'm going to put my whole ass into tuning the car and getting the car right to go down the racetrack. And then the driver can put his whole ass into driving the car. So, and it's not so much that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do while the guy is driving the car. It has nothing to do with that. It's that when you're driving a car like that and you just put the tune up in it, you're second guessing everything you just did.
Right.
All the time you're in the car. So like this past week, I would tell Josh, he's like, well, what's the tune up? I'm like, I'll be all right. You're like, what do you think? I'm like, if it's going to spin, it's going to spin 100 foot out. Be ready for that. If it don't spin 100 foot out, we're good to go. Okay. I don't tell him how fast it's going to go because there's no point, because I don't want him to be anticipating anything or whatever, and he can just focus on driving the car. So
Right.
You don't want him to overthink it. Okay.
Right, exactly. And we've been a lot more successful that way in all reality. So, and I've heard stuff like, oh, it's because you're not good on the light. Like I used to go 030 lights, and lights don't count in drag and drive.
Right.
Who gives a crap? You know what I mean?
So many of my friends have been remarking about reaction time. I'm like, it don't even matter.
Right.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
It's not over 1 second, but that's a whole nother story. So.
Yeah.
Right. I usually go if I'm driving the car in 8th mile, I usually go 030, 040 lights. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst, where it's for me in my scenario, I'd rather them. I also had a pretty bad shoulder injury and had to have a lot of reconstructive surgery to my whole left side. So I don't really have much of a hand grip with my left hand. Mm-hmm. So and I don't have a pec. And I'm left-handed, by the way. So all this got destroyed on my left side. So I don't really have a pec. I mean, I have a piece of cadaver tissue there, but I don't really have a pec. So I can't really turn abruptly. I can't really do that. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that that's my physical disability to not be able to drive it, because that's not the case. I can. It's just that there's a compounding thing, and it's I don't even care to do it. So.
Right.
Okay. So as a asterisk to that, just so I understand, Jimmy mentioned that Drew does drive the car between racetracks, which I know you do, and that Drew also drives the car when they're not competing in sanctioned stuff, not having his license. Is your statement of I have no interest in driving the car because things have changed, is that just for drag and drive, or does that basically mean everything? Like you haven't made a pass in the car in quite a while?
I haven't made a pass in the car in quite a while. I think last year maybe I made a couple hits in the car. That was it. Yeah. I don't really have I really just don't. We have a shootout I think it's next weekend that we're going to with the car, and I won't drive it there, and it's local. I won't drive it there. I'll tune it there, but I won't drive it there. Actually, with the shootout stuff, it's even more important to have a better driver in the car. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have they are all into it because they want to drive. I drove the car for years. You know what I mean? I raced the car for a long time. I just kind of, lost my drive to want to do that, and I don't have any ego to want to, I don't have to, I'm not the type of person that's well, it's got to be about me and I have to. I'd rather it be about a good friend of mine. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I don't know. I guess I'm a little different. So
nothing wrong with that. I just, again, I feel that it's a unique perspective. When I told Mitchell who was coming on, I said, it's interesting that we're going to have, somebody who drives somebody else's car that he's built. And then you're going to have the guy who tunes the car and owns the car but doesn't drive it. And I figured the perspectives and the points of view that you would each bring to the table would be interesting.
Yeah, I wish I still had the drive to want to drive them. You know what I mean? But I just don't really care anymore. I don't know. It's not as much fun to me anymore. So.
Well, it sounds like you got a pretty good team, and if
Oh yeah,
if it's working,
yeah,
don't fix it.
yep. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we know we
Jordan
have
and
at
I
least two
did.
good drivers. We know that.
Yeah, Jordan and I did Florida together, and then Josh Davis and I did Midwest together. So or six summer. So and Josh and I have been racing together for 10+ years. And Jordan and I have been racing together for probably about 3-ish years. And but all three of us are really good friends. Like we're always, we're really close. We have a group of us. There's about 6 or 7 of us that are all pretty close. And those two guys are like kind of the guys that would go to be driving something. You'd be surprised when you get down here into this area. The vast majority of the cars that are at racetracks are driven by a handful of people.
Right.
You go to grudge racing or no time events. It's the vast majority.
The same people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But I mean, like in the grudge world, in the nitrous grudge world, like I know one guy who drives like 7 different cars.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I know another guy who drives 5 different cars. So like on one shootout, they'll be like, you got to kind of pick and choose what cars they enter into a shootout because they can't race the same driver. You know what I mean? Like it's in 2 cars. So it's it's I don't know. I guess it's just the way you're brought up around it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I got it.
So.
Well, gentlemen, I know this is taking a lot longer than what we probably originally thought of, but again, I appreciate both of you coming on and giving us your viewpoints. Mitchell, you got anything else?
No, I'm with you. It's been very entertaining talking with the both of you. We've had a lot of viewers hopping on and leaving comments and questions, which that's what we want to do. We want the viewers to be part of the show and ask those questions. And it's been good. I just need to do one of these sick weeks.
We're gonna drag you along kicking and screaming next year, whether you like to or not. Just take off. As soon as I know the dates in February, I'll tell you, and you basically just need to commit to it. We'll get you in either as media, you can do sick ward or something, but
it's around Valentine's. It's always around Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do a little bit of everything. See, the good thing about my car, it's an everyday driver. I bracket race it. Hey, I can throw the drag radials on there and drive the whole distance without even hauling a trailer behind me.
You can do the dial your own thing if you wanted to.
There you
go. I guess just to probably tidy things up here because of what both of you do for not only the racing but also the drag and drive community. Jimmy, I know you and I have loosely talked about this, but you mentioned that you go racing at Bradenton quite a bit. If you could let us know, I mean, do you have anything planned for the rest of the year? Is there something you might be doing with the Nova or Drew might be doing before Sick Week next year?
I would like to run FL2K. And
which
they have
tickets just got released for not too long
ago.
And
they have a 950 index, which the car could fit in. So that would be, I would love to go to LS Fest. Haven't been yet, and that's been on the list to go there, but I don't know if I'll make that. But definitely probably FL2K is the only thing that I could see for coming up.
Okay.
I got a question. Is there a possibility y'all two can make it to the 352 shootout?
I think Jimmy's going to have an easier chance making it. I think Devin's November race might be a little close to it, but I think we could definitely put Jimmy in something. I don't want to speak for Devin though.
When is that?
It's October 27th and 28th, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that's correct.
Oh,
So, I think we're gonna be in Iceland.
You seriously are going to be in Iceland around Halloween weekend?
I believe so, right? Oh no, we're going on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Never mind. Yeah, we're going to Iceland on Thanksgiving.
Up there right now.
Yeah. Okay, I was wrong. Yeah, we're going on Thanksgiving. So no, I don't know I don't know what I'm doing next weekend. You know what I mean? I know I got to teach classes this weekend with Pete Harrell at HED.
Yeah, it's called push the up arrow a bunch of times.
Yep.
That's right.
I don't know what do we have planned. She knows better than me.
Okay, I was going to say, what's the next thing that's on? So, Jimmy, hopefully I'll see you at FL2K because I'll actually be there announcing that.
Oh, great.
Devin, what we know that as I mentioned it already, so you do the Southeast Street Meet twice a year.
Yep.
First one was in April. Your next one is in November. Do you have a date for the November one yet?
Yeah, I think so. She's
That's on
looking
the list to do too, because it's not as far.
It's not too far away, right? It's between
Yeah.
North and South Carolina, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. November 9th through the 12th. It's a 4-day deal. Yep.
Okay.
It's 5 racetracks in 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're going to 2 racetracks in 1 day.
that's
Wow.
right. You do a morning and an after or an evening
Yep.
one.
Wow,
Yep.
that's cool.
Yep. They're not that
So-
far of a drive, so
Yeah. Do you plan on taking the Mustang to any drag and drive between now and November?
Yeah, we're going to drag week. We're doing drag week.
Awesome. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, we got to run over some more big tire cars.
Honestly, okay, so since you brought it up, what class are you going to run?
Probably unlimited.
Oh boy. That'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see how that works. Because
We shouldn't win anything. Like
didn't you say that people said there was no way your car was going to run 6s in the Midwest either?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. A lot of people say a lot of things. A lot of times they're not right. So the way here's the way I look at it, right? We're going to go to unlimited, probably unlimited. I don't know, as long as they let us, which is the fastest class they have, right? It's supposed to be the fastest class. So you can't protest that, like, you don't fit the rules, right? So there you go. Okay, so we get that out of the way, right? And then we shouldn't win, right? We should not win. Stock suspension Mustang.
No, you're racing pro mods.
Right, on 275 racing against fiberglass and carbon body pro mods. We shouldn't win, right? So if we lose, it's just expected, right? So, like, there's no, like, you're way up here and then you get brought down, right? So there's none of that because you start down here and you stay down here the whole time. Unless we win. And if we win, it's like just the biggest slap in the face to everybody. You know what I mean? Because it's really just like I can't believe you idiots let us win. Like, how did you screw up this bad to let us win? And if we win in drag week, right, in unlimited, you ain't gonna be able to shut me up. Like, I'm already, you know what I mean? Like, it's already been. I've been pretty good about it, honestly, because like I could talk a lot more crap than I have, you know. But if somebody lets us win in drag week, I mean, man, you're not gonna be able to shut me up. I promise. You know what I mean?
You're saying the interview that you did on Cordova in day 5 would be like nothing compared to what you would end up.
I was biting my tongue so bad. You know what I mean? I was biting my tongue so bad. I had so many one-liners to hit them with, and I was like, man, they're gonna want to shoot me. Like, I don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, Tom's gonna watch this and be like, "That's it," and just like come over here and hit me with a freaking, like, tap me in the kneecaps or something. Again, it's like we're gonna enter the hardest class and win, and maybe not win, but we're gonna try. You know what I mean? Unlimited. If we can win unlimited, and again, it's about attrition, right? So, like, you know, maybe we get lucky and everybody else breaks. I don't know, but yeah, that's the plan. Is unlimited on a 275. So we're going to run over all those big stupid floppy tires and all those sissy sticks that they put on the back of the car.
Oh, God.
We're going to show up on a 10-inch wide radial. We'll show up on a 10-inch wide radial, you know, and run them over. So,
well, the winning average last year was 658, and number 3 was 671. So there's your targets.
No problem. I know which tracks we're going to. We'll be all right. Only one I'm worried about is Bristol.
Because of the altitude or what?
No, because it's a dump. Well, it's not a dump. It's a nice place.
It is a nice place. I just hear they don't race there as much as some of the other.
The surface is terrible. The surface is terrible. I mean, it's like clean and smooth, and, you know, don't get me wrong, it's just not a radial friendly racetrack. You know, I think we'll go. I'll make the call out here. I'll say we'll come 665 off the trailer day 1.
Wow.
We've been faster than that already, but I think we're going to go 665, 668, somewhere around there off the trailer day 1. Day 2 is Rockingham, right? I'm going to say we'll go a 71 to 73 at Rockingham. Day 3 is a crapshoot. I don't know. I'm not even going to call it because it's Bristol. But day 4, we're going to go low 60s, high 50s. And then day 5, we'll come back around and go high 50s.
Day 4 is at Carolina, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've got 4 that you can pretty much predict, and then 1 that's the wild card.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but we'll make the whole event.
On that note, Mitchell, I got nothing else. He's predicting that he's going to kick butt, and he's even giving us times. I got nothing to follow that with.
Right.
Well, I mean, this is just me talking shit, right? So, like, this is what I'm saying, and I think that we're gonna be able to do that, right? But I swear, if them big tire floppy tired sissy stick cars let us win again, they need to just reevaluate their entire racing program. They're fired.
That's right.
I'm gonna roll around the pit on my scooter and roll up to everybody and be like, "You're fired." I'm gonna be done out there. You're fired. You know what I mean? They just need
to make you a T-shirt.
Right.
you
Yeah.
He's going to become the radials for life, just like going around passing them out and everything. You know?
Yeah. I was trying to get Jason at Mickey Thompson to just start giving out like coupons for radials for all these guys. Like turn in your
slicks and here's
turn in your slicks. Yeah. I wanted them to call it for cash for clunkers.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
You turn in your slicks that you shouldn't be on anyway, towards a set of radials, So yeah. He said, man, you are out in the middle on day 0 or day 1. He said, no, it's day 0. He goes, I can't believe you're going to run this thing on a 275 with that car. I said, we'll be all right. He's like, well, good luck. I think it'll be okay. He said, but these racetracks ain't that good. I said, we'll figure it out. And by day 5, he goes, well, all right. I said, okay, we won. Cool.
Yep.
So.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of this. It has been truly entertaining to hear from both of you. Again, you guys, like I've said earlier, are the ones that are out there making the sacrifices and spending the time and the money to be part of it. And I'm glad that you were able to come on and share some of your experiences with us.
Yeah, I appreciate all of y'all being on tonight. I know y'all are probably still a little wore out from last week's festivities and trying to catch up around your shop. Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate it, and we'll love to have you on again.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us on. It's been a good, fun night. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Come sick week next year when we're in Gainesville, maybe we can do something, all 4 of us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Thanks for having us.
Yep.
And
gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate it being part of it.
Devin, if you can't come down to the 352 shootout, go ahead and bring Pete with you and talk to Lyle Barnett and bring beer money.
Yeah. I'll be seeing Pete tomorrow or Friday. We'll be hanging out for the whole weekend. So more race car stuff. So all right. Well, thank you very much for having us.
No problem. Y'all have a great afternoon.
All right, man. See you guys
later.
Bye.
Well, we appreciate everyone joining in tonight and watching On the Spot Motorsports Media. We will try to post when our next guest is going to be next week. Again, on June the 24th and 25th, we will be live streaming the Bracket Series race at Gainesville Raceway. So don't forget to follow us on Facebook as we try to do our best to keep you up to date on NHRA and NASCAR. And to then, hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Take care.